we are live.
We are live.
And welcome back. And we, of course, will have to apologize for the small intermission that we had in posting, of course.
For all 6 of the people watching.
Yeah, for all 6 of you guys that were really looking forward to hearing from us. Unfortunately, Adrian got sick. It happens. So we, instead of putting out terrible content, we just wanted to make sure that everybody was in good health.
I don't think you'd appreciate me coughing in your ears.
Yeah. But Adrian is good. He's well. He's healthy. Just a small little cough and, just a cold. But,
just pain from golfing.
Yeah, it does. Now we're just in pain from a beautiful golf tour that we had. Shout out to our boss.
Oh yeah, we killed it though.
Yeah,
absolutely
we did.
Definitely killed the green, killed a couple tees. Probably took some life off of the clubs.
Yeah, we also probably killed our opportunity of ever going back to that beautiful country club, which we won't announce.
Yeah,
but
we're not
thank you for the opportunity to play your beautiful golf course.
Putting up with our bullshit,
and we're sorry if you don't want us to come back, but we appreciated the hospitality. So. Yeah, so we're kicking it off. We're gonna kick it off. Adrian, your favorite is planes.
Oh, I love planes.
Yeah, so you want to start off with the passenger plane?
Yeah, so that
South
was
Korea.
That was May, I think that was a couple months ago. Gentleman on a South Korean Asiana flight decided that, and his words were, the flight was taking too long, and he felt suffocated.
Oh my God!
So when the plane was about, I think the article said 750 meters in the air still, which for people who speak American, or not 250 meters. So people who speak American, that's like over 700 feet.
Yeah.
He decided to open the emergency exit door.
Yeah. So they're descending or they're coming up.
Descending. They were landing.
Yes, they're about to land. So he didn't have long.
No.
What? Another maybe 10.
Having
20
just
minutes?
flown recently, when you're coming into land, unless something goes wrong on the runway, you pull right into a gate and you're off within at most 20 minutes.
Yeah. In his defense, I guess that's when the turbulence comes in, and that's when the maybe the double vodka the double vodka sprites are maybe wearing off a little bit. Maybe he got nervous.
Yeah, I don't know what he was coming down off of, or if just
or maybe
a mental break.
Maybe he needed a double vodka Sprite.
Yeah, he probably needed one. He needed drugs or something. I don't know. Take a Xanax.
Yeah.
But
an Ambien, just put him out.
Yeah, so he decided to crack open that door, and luckily no one was injured. I think a couple people might have gone to the hospital, but no serious injuries. But
yeah, which is wild. Opening the door at that height, and it does. Not even that height, but just going that fast in a commercial a commercial flight. That's insane.
Yeah, you're coming into land at well over 100 miles an hour.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
The wind has got to be the closest thing you can get to being inside a tornado.
Some of the passengers saying I thought the plane was exploding.
Yeah.
The planes
I bet the noise must have been, undescribable.
Oh yeah, and then you've got the jet engines going.
Exactly.
Planes are loud.
The flutter of the metal now, kind of, because that sort of pressure too. I'm sure the cabin is pressurized,
yes.
And again, at that height, probably didn't have that much to do with it, but just the force of that air rushing inside that plane. I'm sure there's a lot of pressure changes.
Normally, you can't open those doors.
Yeah.
Because the plane's pressurized, so it wants to push out. So they make them so that. And they do open out, but they have to come in first, I believe, to unlatch, and then they go out.
Yeah.
So normally you've got the pressurization of the cabin working against you. When you're up, 30,000 feet or whatever, the pressurization's pushing that door hard against its seat. So the only reason he was able to open it is because they were down low where it was starting to equalize.
Exactly.
So, they put fail-safes in them, but they can't anticipate every idiot. Nothing is truly idiot-proof. There's a saying, you can try to make something idiot-proof, and nature will just make a better idiot. So, but as a result, Asiana has decided to ban the sale of the seats by the emergency exits. So, people who fly regularly tend to favor those seats because they give you a bit more leg room. So, if you're booking with Asiana, be aware of that, and if you want to be mad at someone, be mad at that guy.
Yeah, and a lot of leg room, I think.
You get
kind
a good
of
couple inches.
All of the leg room.
You get a good couple inches when you're flying economy. Every inch counts.
Yeah. Well, no, I think the ones that I've seen, and I think even in the video, it shows that door doorway is like the entire walkway. So now you have those that much room in front of you.
Yeah, the
it is
emergency
super
exits
nice.
that are doors give you a lot of leg room. The ones that are just windows, I think, are just a couple inches wider, but that's just to facilitate like people getting through it easier to get out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
But I don't know if they cut off the window ones. The article didn't specify. They just said emergency exit seats.
Yeah, probably. I think they probably can't. I mean, as far as the ones with like the emergency window, I mean, it's hard to not sell those.
But like when
you know, but I get, because you actually made a good point, because like what they might do instead is they might fill those with like flight attendants.
Yeah,
they might
what
like
speculating. Like someone needs to be there because someone needs to open that door in a case of emergency.
Right.
So I don't know what they're gonna do about that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean that would make sense. It's just like put the flight attendants there, and I know they have their own seats up like for like forward, but and for all intents and purposes, it's probably better seats in the row next to that than I mean I don't think those seats are very nice where they have to sit at the front where like all of like the cabins quarters are, the flight attendants, they're kind of like cramped more or less.
It depends on how the plane's laid out. Like, relatively recently I've been on a plane and in coach or economy, whatever you want to call it, because let's face it, we're not made of money. And that was an international flight, so it would have been really expensive. But the plane that I was on was an Airbus, like A320, A321, something like that. I'm pretty sure it was the same plane that that happened on. But we sat towards the front, and there was a lot of space just in that front row, which also included the doors, which is the emergency exit door. But like, they didn't have it butted right up against like the back of the cabin or the divider between first class and second. So you actually had a lot of space in that.
Yeah.
I got to sit in the second row, so I didn't get to enjoy that. But speaking of planes and my personal like experience with them, on the trip out, we were flying from Philadelphia to Seattle before we crossed the Pacific Ocean. That was on a Boeing 737 MAX. And to people who don't keep up with aviation news, if you remember a couple years ago, right before the pandemic, Boeing got in a little bit of trouble for a couple of their 737 MAXs falling out of the sky.
Yeah.
And what was happening was...
It was during takeoff, right?
It was during takeoff, and Boeing redesigned the 737 MAX to have these really big engines because they're really efficient. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but most of that extra size was actually just fan blade.
Yeah.
It wasn't actually burning more fuel. The engine's core wasn't bigger. It was the fan that just pushes more air around. It's called a high bypass fan ratio.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to get like too in the weeds with the technicalities, but it's a physically much larger engine, more fuel efficient. But the problem is the 737 is an older plane, and they gave it short landing gear for it to sit low because Boeing originally thought this would just be like a regional jet. This was back in the day where to go really far you needed a big four-engine jet like the 747.
Mm-hmm.
We've relaxed those regulations as planes got more reliable. Now you can go across the ocean with 2 engines instead of 3 or 4.
Yeah.
But because they thought
Do
it was
you agree
a
with
regional
that?
plane.
I mean, is redundancy really not playing a factor in that?
We've reached a point, like, most of the plane crashes that happen now aren't because of engine failures. So, like, we're kind of, practically speaking, there.
I mean, what's the whole thing, like, birds flying into
Bird
engines?
strikes tend to happen over land, not over the ocean.
That makes sense. I get that. But,
So-
I mean, it doesn't... I mean, is that more comforting? I mean, are we, like, okay with trying to, like, land a plane in the water as opposed... I mean, obviously, I would rather try to land a plane into water than to land it into a city, a town, or into trees. Like, I mean, I can swim. There's the drowning aspect, but there's, like... I mean, if you're going through trees or going through a town or going... I mean, the amount of people that, may be injured from the plane landing, which, again, this is just not to scare people out of flying planes, but, like, if worst case scenario you had to, like,
Well, I think you're
emergency
kind of
land a plane.
speaking for yourself there, or, to your own point, if you're worried about, like, the redundancy being gone, you'd rather land in the water. And
I would. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. I would
So-
rather land in the water for sure.
Yeah, when you lose an engine on a plane, like your range kind of
Yeah.
drops.
Yeah, because like the only thing that like you have to worry about then is, depending on how hard you hit, if you survive, and that's both scenarios, whether land or water. But then it's drowning. Can you get out in time?
Well,
But at least there's
I-
nothing that like would have like taken the wing off or inhibited a landing.
We have a lot of like safety like backups in place. So like if the plane lands, like it floats itself for a while,
Okay.
and the emergency slide is a giant raft.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's the seat cushions you sit on are they
Flight-
pull double duty as
Floating
like
device.
a flotation device.
Yeah.
So it's more like, can you survive until you get picked up?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
Way
don't
better
think
chance
drowning is
in the
going to
water.
be your biggest concern. It's going to be, can they find you in time? And with like GPS beacons,
That's
black
fair.
box,
I didn't
all
think
that
about
stuff.
that.
So like
Oh fuck.
now, that's not to say planes don't disappear, but that's a whole. We still don't really know. Like the plane would have to break apart, at which point you're not surviving that anyway.
That
So-
Malaysian flight is something that you and
Yeah.
I have not talked about.
Either
enough.
that broke up or aliens exist. Take your pick.
Yeah, yeah. Find
We
a
don't
camp.
have much
find a
proof
camp,
either
stick
way.
in it, and yeah.
But back to the 737, because that engine's so big, and the landing gear. Let me backtrack a bit more.
Yeah.
They designed that originally to be a regional jet.
Mm.
So they were expecting small airports, might not have like a whole, gate, the thing, and they might need to bring out like the flight stairs, and you disembark like basically in a plane parking lot instead of at a terminal. So they made it short landing gear, so it sat lower, so it would work with more of these regional airports, smaller like mobile stairs and all that, which made sense at the time. But now it's pulling duty as like a long range plane. So to put these big engines on there, if they mounted them conventionally, they'd be on the ground. So, and it would be way too expensive to redesign the landing gear to collapse into the plane and all that. So they mounted these engines further forward, because if you ever look at a jet engine, it's kind of cone-shaped, further forward and higher up to get it just off the ground. That makes the plane want to nose up, because you're moving the center of like thrust forward on the plane and raising it
Yeah.
up. So it's going to want to bring the nose of the plane up as it flies. And, that by itself isn't the end of the world. But you need to train the pilots to compensate for that. And in order to make this plane competitive with Airbus, which is the other major airplane manufacturer, and they had just released their A320neo or something, and use those same engines. That's why Boeing even bothered with this. But, in order to outcompete them, like, you can't have any extra costs attached to this new plane.
Yeah.
And airlines don't want to pay for extra training when they can just buy the Airbus. If their pilots are already trained for the Airbus, they can get the newer Airbuses without having to pay for more training. So if you had a bunch of 737s and Boeing's like, well, we can sell you a 737 MAX, but you're going to need to train your pilots, like, it doesn't make sense financially.
Yeah.
So what they did was they put this system on there called MCAS. It's an acronym. I forget what it stands for, but that's really not important. All you need to know is what it did was, if it detected the nose of the plane starting to go up, push it back down.
Yeah.
And when the system was working, it worked fine. You didn't even notice it. And that was the whole point. So they didn't have to retrain the pilots, but what they really, really fucked up on is they didn't tell the airlines about it, and they didn't tell the pilots about it. And then the one of the sensors at the front of the plane that actually determines if the nose is, rising up, they didn't make it redundant. They put one sensor there. So if it fails and starts feeding the MCAS, bad information, MCAS just starts pushing that nose down. So what was happening is during takeoff, these sensors would like glitch out, go bad, lack of maintenance, or just lack of maintenance. If something was going wrong and just not replacing that sensor because you didn't think it was that important, the pilots would take off, MCAS would start freaking out and start pushing the nose of the plane down. It would send like all kinds of warnings, like stall warnings, and I forget the specifics because I'm not a pilot.
Yeah.
But you'd be up in the pilot seat, you'd have all these warnings going off, and you're like trying to yank back on the stick while something is pushing the nose back down.
Yeah.
And they don't know this system is there, so they don't even know to disable it, let alone know how to disable it.
Yeah.
So the 2 planes that went down were because they would take off, and then MCAS would just run the plane into the ground.
Yeah.
So Boeing got into a shitload of trouble with that.
Yeah.
And then it even came out that because Boeing had been established for so long and hadn't really had any major issues, the FAA, who's supposed to regulate this kind of shit, was not watching them as close as they should have. So the FAA got some shit. Boeing got a lot of shit. They got hit with a bunch of fines, and they had to ground the planes until they had to, figure out some sort of fix. And then the pandemic happened, which basically turned off Boeing's revenue stream. So now they're like starved for cash trying to fix it. Anyway, supposedly it's fixed now because the 737 MAX is back in the air, and I flew on one twice, on the way out and the way back in. And on the way out,
don't don't lack on the details of how far you flew.
Oh yeah, so I flew to we flew to the Philippines.
Yeah,
I mean the 737 MAX only handled the domestic part of that route, so that was Philadelphia to Seattle, and then on the way back it was San Francisco to Philly,
which is still what, 4 hours?
4 or 5 hours, something like that. 3,000 miles.
That's still enough for me to just make mention that it wasn't like you took it, 2 hours.
Yeah. But again, like, it doesn't matter how long the flight is. The issue was at takeoff.
Even if it...
So, like, once we got past takeoff,
if it took off and landed
breathe,
immediately, it's the same amount of trouble.
Yeah.
It's the same amount of concern.
But what scared me was, one, having this knowledge, because I'm an aviation, nerd. And then when we took off out of Philly to head to Seattle, there was turbulence, right at the airport. So we go to take off, and I feel the plane go up, and then I feel it drop 10 feet, and then go back up, and then drop, and then up, and then drop. And I'm like, oh my God, is the pilot fighting MCAS right now? Jesus Christ, what is going on? The rational part of my brain's like, this is turbulence.
You're okay.
The lizard part of my brain is like, we're going to fucking die.
Yeah, I don't even know what I'm talking about. And when I'm on a plane, I hit turbulence, and I'm just like, probably going to die.
Yeah, turbulence normally doesn't scare me. A 737 MAX struggling at takeoff scares the crap out of me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and rightfully so. And like you said, it was probably more of you knowing too much.
Yeah, no.
That influenced your...
working as a mechanic, it always pissed me off when customers came in saying, oh, I looked at this myself, and, this is what I think it is, and half the time they're just completely off.
Yeah.
Or, they don't think what I'm telling them is right because they know better.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that guy, but, I'm sitting in my seat.
You kind of find yourself in that same...
on the,
yeah. You want to just go tap the pilot's shoulder is this MCAS?
Do you know how to turn MCAS off? What's your reaction time? Can you turn it off quicker than 30 seconds? Because that's all the other pilots had. But
yeah, that's wild.
On top of that, I'm trying to keep a brave face for my mom, who's just doesn't like flying to begin with.
Yeah,
so I'm like, we're gonna be fine.
Yeah, not freaking everyone else out.
Yeah,
while keeping yourself calm.
Yeah, what was really messed up is when we were on the long haul part of it. We're in an Airbus, which doesn't have these issues, never had these issues, and while we're flying back on our way to San Francisco, the pilot comes on we're going to be experiencing turbulence. I ask everyone to return to your seats and put your seatbelts on and all of that. And that was some bad turbulence, the worst turbulence I've ever been. I've only ever been in a plane if I count every individual leg, 7 or 8 times.
Yeah.
But I was less worried about that turbulence than that takeoff in that 737.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was rough.
I think it's always sketchy, but you want to
I have fun on takeoff and landing otherwise. That's my favorite part of the flight.
Well, to go into the sketchiness, do you want to talk about Nepal?
You know more about the specifics of that story than me, so if you want to take it away.
Well, I know more of the specifics just in the sense of I read it, so I don't want to give anyone...
Well, that's where all my knowledge comes
from.
Well,
I don't want to give anyone any kind of illusions on how much I know about planes, but the plane crash in Nepal, and I'm not sure about where they were headed and where they were going. Not positive, but the plane landed in Nepal. It might have been going to Nepal.
Landing's
but,
one way to put it.
Yeah. Well, I guess. Yeah, I guess. So it crashed in Nepal. But the pilot and co-pilot have had they had an experience, and then like obviously the co-pilot had a little less experience, but had flown this exact flight at least 600 times. So they knew what they were doing. I believe there's the co-pilot's husband, who is now deceased, died in a plane crash as well, and he was a pilot, and like on his own plane crashed. So that actually was the part that inspired her to become a co-pilot, and to be, I guess, I don't know if you start out as a co-pilot and then become a pilot. That kind of seems to make sense.
Of it.
Yeah, so she was, I guess, like on her way, but one of her duties was to, as they were descending, they were supposed to take the plane speed from, and again, I'm not going to mess any of this up, but we'll just say it was like at 100%, they were supposed to take it to 30%, and instead...
The speed or the throttle?
The throttle.
Okay.
And instead, what she had moved was the plane's...
I think you would talk to me about. I think it was the prop angle.
The prop angle, and like what the position is called is flutter. So something on the wings that has like a like you said, like a prop change. They put it into flutter, and this plane isn't like one of our commercial planes in the United States. This is like a prop style. What did you call it? That style engine.
Oh, turboprop.
A turboprop, yeah. So it's a prop style, which means that it's essentially a jet engine, but it does have a prop on an actual physical. Like
it doesn't get its thrust from the
blade.
exhaust or from like a fan turbine. It gets it from spinning a propeller.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I don't know if that makes it more susceptible or not, but when they did that, what happened was that the engines basically went into a stall, and then they stopped running, and then there was pure panic, and then they tried to lay in the plan wherever they could, and where this was at in Nepal was just very, very thick remote mountains, so wasn't good. No one survived. It was rough. And so the reason I brought that up was because, like, to your point, while you were talking about training these pilots and stuff, I didn't realize how much the pilot's job actually has. Because I thought that we had gotten to, today where, like,
autopilot flies
itself. Autopilot, it flies itself. I thought that there was far less responsibilities onto a pilot and a co-pilot to make sure that even a commercial plane, like, small planes, obviously less sophisticated, maybe have, like more... It requires more attention, and you have to watch all of these dials and meters and stuff. But nowadays, the electronics on the planes do all of that. But they don't fly themselves. I mean, once they get up there, for the most part, they're kind of doing their own thing, and they put it into autopilot, and it's okay. But I didn't realize that the amount of work that it takes to get a plane up and then back down, and it is pretty crazy. And so, false sense of security for me, for sure. And then I heard about this, which was like just a terrible thing. And I had to.
Bliss.
Yeah, it is. It literally is. And I kind of thought, like, like this was like a little bit of a wake up call for me to just say, like, I haven't looked into this. Like, how could this plane have crashed? I mean, we never hear about plane crashes, like, for us, nowadays. And yeah, of course, and that is on its way. But sorry about that. But so we don't really hear about plane crashes much today.
They're high profile when they happen because of how rare they are.
Yeah, fortunately. But across the other parts of the world, they unfortunately do. And could be training. I mean, who knows? I mean, there's all kinds of.
I mean, you get into less regulated countries, and you've got like maintenance issues, training issues, and all that. But to your point, smaller planes are less automated than big planes, and full size like commercial airliners. I don't know if they can take off by themselves. I'm pretty sure that's still a pilot like controlled thing.
Yeah,
these planes can land themselves, but generally, to my understanding, we
keep going. Just chasing a gnat.
I'm watching.
Got him.
Yeah,
it's under my finger.
Yeah. Fun little tip. These bugs, they see in a higher frame rate than us, and because their brain processes that information quicker, we pretty much move in slow motion to them, which is why they're always like able to dodge you. So to cheat that, if they land and you get them to stand still for long enough, what you do is you just move really slow, because they see things going faster. Slower things seem way slower. So if you go slow enough, they might not even perceive you moving.
Yeah. Well, that gnat didn't stand a chance.
Exactly.
I put that's why that finger. Yeah.
Kind of poke it approach worked.
Yeah, so there you go, folks. If you're still listening.
Just so
the
full
tidbit
of
the
facts.
day is to move slow around bugs that can fly.
Yeah. But these planes can practically land themselves, and actually I think not practically can land themselves, but I think the pilots generally take them in. But the autopilot basically can fly the thing itself.
Yeah.
But I don't know, would you feel better with autopilot landing the plane, or would you feel better with the pilot landing?
Autopilot. 100%. 100 million %.
Yeah.
And I get it. And then that's after just hearing about this MCAS thing, you know, where like it was like, and then just like dropped. You know?
Well, I think you can argue that it was human error that the system was designed the way it was.
So, I mean, that is a good perspective, that a human had to design it in the first place.
Yeah, Boeing as a company just makes me sad.
But I'm confident in one person to make a decision, like, because there's tons of people who can fly, but the amount of flights that we do have, we're losing those people who can fly.
But we're training more all the time.
Yeah, I'm sure we are. Training more, and like the experienced pilots, people who take it seriously, like that kind of thing. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, I'm not pro or against one or the other, but I think just like I would feel better if it was like just this program that ran a million times and has no maintenance and doesn't have, you know, an ex-wife or a drinking problem or, you know, didn't get a speeding ticket on the way
crashes before.
Yeah.
Suicidal pilot just taking out the whole plane, which is such a dick move.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna off yourself, not a whole plane of innocent people. I forget what flight that was, what country, but I know that happened.
Yeah. I know. And that came up on that Malaysian flight as well. The one that ML like 158, I think it was.
Did you see the UFO video that was leaked recently about that? I'm pretty sure it's fake. Like, it looks way too outlandish to have been real. But speaking of aliens,
let's move away from like the obviously fake one.
So
move into the government issue.
Yeah, the government
issued propaganda. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Your daily dose of government issued distractions. No, but so, you know, there's been a lot of talk about the U.S. government's confirmed aliens are real.
Yep. We just don't have one.
Yeah, no, see, here's the thing. If you paid attention, the government isn't saying aliens are real.
Yeah.
We've got a whistleblower saying aliens are real, and the government's covering it up. And, you know, the government, outside of, like, the security and, you know, military aspect of the government, the Congress and all that, that's listening to it, by acknowledging it, is kind of giving this guy credibility in the public mind, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. When it comes down to brass tacks, I'm just disappointed in how this is all played out. Like, you know, we've got you got people on both sides saying, like, you know, this proves nothing. That guy's just crazy. And I don't think he's crazy necessarily. He's got, like, a lot of credibility. He doesn't
Which guy?
Which guy? I forget his name. He's the main guy who, like, is being interviewed or interrogated, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Who's, like, giving these statements.
That's like David something.
I don't know. We really should know his name. You should Google that real quick.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, I'll let you keep going.
You know, you got people on one side saying, like, he's a nut job and you know, none of this is real. This proves nothing. Then you got people on the other side who are like, oh, I told you aliens are real. You know, this is the government acknowledging it, and it's only a matter of time now. And, like, for me, I'm just apathetic towards it.
David Koresh.
Yeah,
just
David
to
Koresh.
throw that back in. I knew it was David something.
Because
David Koresh.
Like I said, he has credibility in my eyes. He's, you know, he doesn't come from like a background that suggests he's just a crackpot.
Yeah.
You know, he's done work in the government in like high security, stations, positions, whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, they've proved nothing. And I don't mean that in the, completely discredit. I mean like they physically have not produced proof of anything. All he said was like, I can't talk about this. Here are people that you can ask, and here are people that also won't talk about it. It's all talk. It's just all talk.
Yeah.
Like, at this point, because there are so many crackpots out there just trying to, like, make a name for themselves or something, or maybe they've drank their own Kool-Aid and now fully believe their own delusions, that, like, I need to see real, tangible proof before I believe anything about us, like, having alien technology or aliens or contacting aliens. I believe there are aliens out there. With the size of the universe, the number of stars, number of planets in this galaxy, let alone the universe, it's damn near a mathematical impossibility that there's not something else out there.
Yeah.
Whether or not they've come here, that's where I'm like...
And whether or not what these people are saying are those things.
Yeah, especially.
Yeah.
So, until, like, an alien is interviewed on live television, or they roll out a UFO that's obviously beyond anything we can do, it means nothing to me. Like, at the end of the day, is it going to stop me from going to work tomorrow? No. All right, moving on.
Yeah. What do you think about the videos and stuff that have come out? And obviously there's like the old Project Blue Book stuff, which has already been debunked, and that guy was a crack shot. But it got people thinking, and it got people looking into the sky, and got people like kind of on the heels of like what could be potential. What's the new word? Like something like unidentified phenomena or something.
UAPs.
Yeah, UAPs.
Unidentified aerial phenomena.
Yeah, aerial phenomena. So, but I mean, it sparked all this. It sparked the idea of having a space force. I mean,
that was just, we have an Air Force, and now we're, especially with SpaceX really gearing up in the past couple of years, now we have a lot of orbital capability, and China is upping theirs like that. That's a
devil's advocate. If we didn't think that anything was out there, we probably wouldn't.
Oh, I don't think Space Force is something looking out. I think Space Force is something looking back in. It's there to guard against China or Russia
in space.
Yes, that's what I think. That's for.
Fair.
But the most famous video that has all the credibility you can give it is that one where they show like an object flying on this really grainy like thermal camera from like a Navy pilot.
Yeah.
And that got leaked.
So the Tic Tac.
That got leaked several years ago.
Yeah, 2004.
And a bunch of people were like just debunking it and like, this isn't real, this isn't that, blah, blah, blah. And then finally, just a couple years ago, the Pentagon comes out and goes, no, yeah, that's ours. So, you have something like that, and yeah, that raises questions.
Yeah.
Really hard to answer questions.
Yeah.
But that's all we've got. Like,
no, but I mean, just to reiterate, because I don't want you to dismiss it too quick. Because I get it. We just all we did was we saw a thing. But
I'm not dismissing it because
that one that you're talking about was the Nimitz, the Tic Tac. So Commander David Fravor was the pilot of that plane,
mm-hmm.
and during just a routine exercise, they're finishing up an exercise. So, and about this, so you understand that like when they do these exercises in these planes to, like simulate battle, whatever
mm-hmm.
they want to do, they have a gate point, and then they have like a waypoint. So like they move back and forth in between those two places, and they say like, hey, come back to the waypoint. We're gonna start over again. So while they were at the waypoint, like away from where they were like, hey, you guys got a little fuel left. We're about to wrap up this training. So over the last few months, we've been seeing this thing popping mm-hmm. up on our radar. Mine just like running out there and checking it out, and they go check it out. So this thing went from like, I don't know, like 1,000 feet
Yeah, no, I remember this.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah.
It's
but
doing
just,
all
but
these
just
maneuvers.
right.
that-
But just to tell the story
Yeah.
on the podcast, like we'll just like it from really, really high up, like 1,000 feet or whatever, and then went from 1,000 feet to sea level within a second. They
yeah,
lost
I forget.
it.
Did it ever go underwater while they were
Yeah.
observing it? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so it went underwater, and then they couldn't see any white cap over top of it, where
Mhm.
like it didn't do anything
Oh, yeah,
when
it's
it
just
went.
quantum phasing.
Yeah, it just went through the water,
Which
and
is
it
an
wasn't like it
interesting
was just
phenomenon
below
that's
the
theoretically possible. We'll talk
right.
about that
But the
later.
idea also being that like it didn't just go like through the water, and it wasn't just under the water. It went down.
Mhm.
It went way down. So meaning that like it wasn't like the current wasn't hitting the whatever this craft was and creating a white cap
Yeah,
in
and
the
the way
water.
to do that theoretically would be quantum phasing,
Yeah.
which is beyond
So,
us.
but it went from, again, just to reiterate, 1,000 feet
Mhm.
to sea level to gone.
Yep.
And they believe it went into the water. And they were like, hey,
But yeah, that video was when it was at like just above sea level.
yeah.
Just
And I think, and then before all of
think.
that, it was moving. And they were trying to track it, and they did lock it.
Well, yeah,
on
you
their-
hear the guy like, "Ah, I got it!" Like, he
Yeah.
was really excited. He was able to lock it on his
So,
camera.
and then you also know that it did scramble I don't want to fuck this up. Whatever we use as like a sonar visual
Radar?
a radar, like whatever that the plane is using to search, which is on paper a war like crime. It's like it's
an
like
act
a
of
reason
war.
of active war. Yeah. So that was wild. And then they didn't do anything, but like they were like, all right, this is getting scary. It just jammed us. Nothing else is out here. It must be the reason that and we're out here all the time, you know, off the coast of California.
Mhm.
And like now all of a sudden we see this thing and now it's jamming our radar. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So then that's when and it's moving really fast. It's hard for them to track it. And then that's when it stops, drops down, goes into the water, and then they lose it.
Yeah.
And that's it. So then, again, I know, just telling the story for the podcast, they're on their way back. They're like, hey, we lost it. We're like, we're sorry. We're heading back. And like a minute later, they're like, hey, you're not going to believe this thing, or like not going to
I
believe
remember
it.
that.
But this
I remember
thing's
hearing
back
that
at
audio. Yeah.
so they're like, hey, you're not going to believe this, but this thing's back at your waypoint. It's back where you're headed right now. And they head out to it, and it's gone. But they picked it up on the radar at their waypoint, like a nana and a boo boo. Like, I know where you were going, and I got there first.
Yeah. I'm not trying to dismiss that video. It's just
But
like,
but take all of those facts,
what I'm trying to dismiss.
and then just appreciate that it's wild with me for a second.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah,
It's
okay. Thank you
completely
for
nuts.
the
No,
for the
what-
video.
What
just
I was
appreciate how
trying
wild
to
this
say
is.
it doesn't prove that we have contact or have captured a ship or
No,
have
but it's a
captured an alien.
it's a
That's what I wanted to get at. Like, again, I believe there are aliens out there.
Yeah, I'm not saying that any of this proved anything either. What I'm saying is that proved that
That's
happened.
a very hard video to debunk, especially now that the Pentagon has acknowledged it's real.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah,
there's
that's
some
what I'm
wild
saying.
crap going on there. So either multiple pieces of equipment have malfunctioned in a very specific way,
Yeah.
or, someone on this planet has technology really beyond the U.S., which is frightening to think about because
Yeah.
we have some crazy shit.
Yeah.
Or it's aliens.
Yeah.
So, or it's spooky supernatural.
Yeah.
But yeah, you said it went into the water and didn't interact with the water.
Mhm.
And what I had said was that could be quantum phasing, which I think that's what it's called. I could be getting my weird quantum physics principles confused here. It might be something else, but when you look at like a solid object, matter, it is mostly empty air because everything's made of atoms, and atoms are very, very tiny and in relation to their size, very, very far apart.
Mm-hmm.
So quantum phasing is basically where somehow, some way, the atoms align just right where they don't touch. They go. I mean, they don't physically touch. You've got like quantum forces. I'm not gonna say which ones because I don't know specifically which forces, but like you got magnetic forces and all that because you've got electrons that have negative charge and protons that have positive charge, and negative and negative repel each other. Blah blah blah. So I'm not sure which quantum force stops you from like
pushing through
pushing
that
through.
phone
But like
right
if
now.
you get
Yeah.
everything lined up just right, theoretically, this phone could just right through
right
that
through
table.
the table. Yeah.
So if you've got super advanced technology where you can reorganize things on a, like, not even molecular, but like atom level, just whoop, right through all the empty spaces.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Maybe it's quantum tunneling.
yeah, and like to that point about water, like that. Ever since I figured out about that video and I heard about it, and then like before the Pentagon even like
Acknowledged it.
yeah, I mean it showed so much credibility before then, but then like once they acknowledge it, it's like, I mean, now like my better theory, or like just a fun theory, is that like there's not aliens in outer space and that they're in our oceans. So please blow that out of the water for me.
Blow it out.
Da-dunch. And because
Well,
I know that you know a lot about the oceans,
all right.
but we haven't explored a whole
Yeah,
lot.
so let's run with this real quick. Just
Yeah.
fun little thought experiment.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be aliens because they're terrestrial. They're from Earth.
Good, fine.
So you're
Because I think octopuses are aliens, and I don't care where they live.
I have a fun little side quest for octopuses as well.
Okay, good.
But theoretically, could there be a hyper advanced civilization of creatures, because I don't know what the hell they'd be, living in the oceans that we've just never found?
Yeah.
Theoretically, yeah. Who knows? And maybe now they're poking around because we're fucking up the oceans with plastic and climate change. Who knows?
Yeah.
But odds are, I want to say probably not. Just because, like the path to being able to like develop this technology in water, like water makes everything harder. It's why we've explored more
To
of
us.
space
To us.
to physics.
To us.
It's why we've explored more of space than we have our own oceans.
So how about physics with the Nimitz video? So again, you were
Well,
looking
I-
at this scientifically, and I need you to just look at it as in like just like pure theory. Like I get it. Like you're taking physics
Well,
first to like drag my conspiracy into reality, and I get
You
it.
just
It's
asked me to
very,
do that.
It's very hard. I'm not asking you to drag physics into it. I'm
You
asking
said
you.
blow it out of the water.
All right. Well, I mean, my point is that like physics doesn't matter. Okay, at least that one, because in
Physics
this case,
doesn't matter
this-
when you
this-
get sufficiently advanced. What I'm trying to say is that water makes it very hard to advance. Not because just our mindset, we're not used to working in water. Water on a physics level likes to break shit. It makes
So-
it really hard to work with electricity.
Okay, that's fine. So what I'm saying is that thing disappeared into the water, and like no one knew what happened to it, and then it ended up.
Well,
Like,
you
at
want
their
to play
waypoint before-
hypotheticals here. It's a super advanced alien that has mastered quantum phasing.
Yeah,
Doesn't mean they live in the ocean.
that has nothing to do with it. You don't think there's like anything
Well,
that?
what did we just say? It's that we've discovered more about space in our own oceans. So if I wanted to hide from humans on Earth, where would I hide?
Space.
The oceans.
Well, I mean, I think if we've discovered more in space, which again, like I don't. I mean, have we? I think we've looked at more space. Right, but and then we talk
We've
about how like
mapped more of
space
the
is
visible
kind of
sky than we
growing.
have the ocean.
Yeah. Okay.
So again, if I was an alien and I wanted to spy on the little monkey people on this little dirt ball in the
Yeah,
solar
hiding
system,
out in the water would be a good idea.
hiding in the ocean would be a great place to
Yeah.
hide. So I'm not saying they're not there,
Yeah, I think they're there.
but I
think
am
they're in-
saying,
I think they're in the water.
but I am saying I doubt they are terrestrial.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they evolved from anything on Earth. Just because to evolve technology in water is just physically very difficult. Very, very difficult. Electricity doesn't work down there. Metal corrodes. Like, plastic seems fine, but I don't see any plastic factories polluting the oceans from the inside, at least not that we're aware of. Who knows? Maybe they're just really good at recycling.
That's a
Oh,
decent.
yeah, and fire doesn't work underwater as well, which is what set us down our technological path.
Yeah. I mean, who says that there's not like a dome down there, where they're just. separated from the water.
Look, I don't want to crush.
It's like Sandy Cheeks'
Yeah, I don't want to crush your.
Dude, the aliens are living in Sandy Cheeks' house.
They might be. If there were aliens on Earth, like I said, I'd hide in the ocean if I was an alien.
Yeah.
And they could build an environmental dome down there.
Yeah.
They probably have the technology. If they figured out quantum phasing, building a dome underwater should be no problem.
Yeah.
But
I don't know why we haven't. We should do that.
because it's hard.
Yeah, but not very deep. Just for fun.
Dude,
Why wouldn't
Oh,
we?
no, we have those.
We do?
Yeah, there's hotels you can stay underwater.
What the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah.
Okay, of course. Everything you think of, someone's already done it.
Of course.
All right. Well, that is cool as fuck. Well, it kind of makes sense. Someone already thought about it.
I mean, SpongeBob thought of it.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, they thought of it, and then someone was like, "Yeah, money. I see money here."
But yeah, just the technological tree, water isn't kind to it. So I don't think we have to worry about being overthrown by fish people or crab people.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess I wanted you to blow some theories out of the water with it, but not with physics, because obviously we don't fuck with water for the most part because of physics.
Mm-hmm.
Humans don't really go well with water, especially underneath.
Yeah,
so obviously we're very limited to what we can do in the water, but as far as
I mean, if you wanted to imagine, let's say dolphins or dolphin-like animals let's even take this all the way to aliens. Another planet that's a water world. There's no land masses. It's just all water. Could a civilization spawn on this planet? Sure, absolutely. In fact, water is very conducive to life, period.
Mm-hmm.
How would they do technology, though? And this could just be a limit of our scope and
How
our
would they do it on
experience.
space?
Well, I'm assuming they came from another planet.
But regardless, I mean, what's I mean, I'm not saying
With,
that's what
building
you.
in space?
Yeah, we're not taking a position. We're just playing devil's advocate, or not even devil's advocate. We're just kind of playing around with the idea of probability reasoning that the best of our abilities, aliens evolving in the water or aliens evolving in space. I mean, I would feel like the oceans probably have a better, just what you were saying, a better.
So again, this is I'm dragging physics back into this because that's
Yeah.
all we have to work with.
All right, that's fine.
Our understanding of
That's fair.
physics and biology basically dictate that life can't form spontaneously in a vacuum. It has to form on a planet with certain requirements
Mm-hmm.
that need to be met. So, and that's when I was younger, I kind of lambasted the scientists for going oh, water is a prerequisite for life. So if the planet doesn't have water, there's not going to be life. And I'm like, well, how would we know? Why couldn't it be something so alien that it doesn't need water?
Yeah.
But as I got older, and maybe I'm falling into the trap that they fell into,
Oh no.
but as I got older and started to learn more about biology specifically and how amino acids first formed on Earth and potentially started as the building blocks for life, and basically what's required for life to happen. These reactions only happen in very certain specific scenarios, and our best bet at finding truly alien life would be we are carbon-based life forms, where everything our body does revolves around carbon atoms because they are very good at latching onto things and forming complex molecules and organic compounds.
Mm-hmm.
Silicon is similar. It's got the same number of valence electrons, which means it has the same bonding abilities. But silicon doesn't play nice with, I think, oxygen. So if a silicon-based life form came on Earth, oxygen would literally break apart it on a molecular level, corrode its very being. So you need to find a very extreme planet that has no oxygen and high heat, because I think when silicon gets too cold, it crystallizes very readily, and crystals don't mix well like liquids. And these organic compounds being in a liquid state in water, and the heat required for silicon would make all water vapor. So the more I learned about physics and biology and everything and how this works, the more it's okay, no, we do need water.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to these theoretical aliens. Again, space has none of that. Space has like no way for this stuff to like this catalyst to happen. Vacuum is just awful for life, and the temperatures and the radiation that is just out in space when you don't have an atmosphere and a magnetosphere to protect your fledgling life. So I don't think we're going to see any native space creatures unless like we're missing a very big piece of the puzzle to life.
Yeah, I think that's how everyone has to assume it. I think everybody has to assume that we know that there's no other humans living in space or on any of the planets that we can find.
There are plenty of planets out there that fall into like the habitable zone. It might not be habitable to humans.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Is that we know,
but it'll still be carbon based. It'll still be in the Goldilocks zone where liquid water can exist on the surface of this planet. So like maybe they need oxygen, because oxygen again is one of those very unique molecules that does what life needs, and not many other molecules or atoms have those properties to allow it to be an oxygen substitute. Mm-hmm. So maybe there's another planet where there's oxygen but like chlorine gas in the atmosphere. That kills us, but maybe they need that chlorine gas and the oxygen, and they come here and they die because they don't have it, or they can't process nitrogen, which is in our atmosphere.
Yeah.
So, there are things like that can happen.
Yeah.
And I could be wrong. There's probably, if a physicist or a biologist ever finds this and hears me rambling about this and is like ripping their hair out, I'm using just placeholder atoms because
it's a lot of theory. It's a lot of theory, and it's just like more fun than it is anything else. It's not like it's we're not like
we're far from professionals at this too.
Yeah, we're not gonna make a doctorate on this. We're not gonna.
I'm not writing a thesis, and this is not gonna be peer reviewed.
A thesis on this, is not what's gonna happen.
But as for your water aliens and why, I really don't think this is something that's gonna happen on Earth. These little fruit flies, I swear to God. But why I don't think that's gonna happen, like on a water world. You can you can sit here and go like, well, if they have sufficiently advanced technology, then they can overcome any obstacles that water might impose. But what you have to do is you got to rewind the clock to when they're just like evolving intelligence. We got started down our technological path that gives us all this technology that lets us do all these crazy things when we discovered fire. And we put that fire to work. We created steam engines that gave us industrial capability, lifted people out of farms and into like factories and cities, gave them more income where they could now afford an education. It all builds and builds and builds, but without that initial foundation,
without that
original foundation, like
it was at that point that we got here.
So
the exponential growth.
What water does is it complicates the building of that foundation. You can't just shortcut it and go, oh well, if they have this technology, then they don't need to. Well, they can't get to that point.
Yeah.
They don't get fire, so they can't use steam to like build things out. You can use ocean currents maybe to like run machinery underwater, but again, then you get to like our next biggest leap, and that was electricity. Electricity does not like water.
Yeah.
That right there makes it really hard. And if you want to do anything with metal, which at least on our planet is readily available and really good to build out of, like,
Now, again, I just want to like stop you because
we're rambling.
No, just because you're using physics and something that we know that clearly isn't possible. That's the reason that these alien conspiracies exist in the first place, is because like we know that they aren't possible. You know what I mean? So like to be able to theorize it, like I enjoy some influence from like the physics side of it, but like you can't just like rule out every like thing about like an alien because like the physics doesn't match up. Like I think everyone understands that like nothing for the like very slim things live in the ocean, and even slimmer things live in space.
Well,
that's the idea. That's what's so amazing about this, And then what I wanted to talk about was octopus. I mean,
oh yeah,
how in the hell is that real? And if you think like what if like the first thing that Columbus saw when he got I mean, I know everybody hates Columbus. I shouldn't have brought him up. He sucked, but when America was first discovered, we'll just say that
By the Vikings.
by whoever that you want it to be. I don't care. I don't have a position. If they found an octopus like day one, you think they would stay? I would be like, I'm out. What is that? How is it changing color? It's like it's moving with the sand. I can't see it. I could see it. Like it's got suction cups. It's got ink. It's all flabby. It's got 8 things. It's got 8 tentacles. And then you're a human. Mm-hmm. You just figured out cotton. like you got to really put it in perspective for them to be like, no fucking way.
Yeah, I mean, so the thing that I wanted to talk about octopuses. There are
Is it pusses or is it puss?
I don't even want to get into this debate. Octopi. Theoretically, it could be octopodes. Depends on like what root language you're using.
Okay.
But we're gonna go off on a wild tangent here before I loop it back around. There are many theories on how life started on Earth, whether it evolved naturally from like organic compounds, amino acids, and all that stuff that got churned up in the primordial stew of Earth's oceans. Or the other, more fun theory, in my opinion, is something called panspermia. What that is dormant bacteria or, single-celled life forms or whatever hitched a ride on, like, a meteor. Like, they might have been on another planet, got hit by a meteor, knocked a chunk of rock with them on it into space, and on a journey across the cosmos until it eventually crash lands on Earth, where we happen to have the right conditions for that bacteria to basically become undormant and start growing. So, by that theory, all life on Earth is aliens. Mm-hmm. But, one of the fun conspiracy theories, I'm sure it's been debunked, but it's still fun to think about, is that octopi, whatever you want to call them, are so genetically different from everything else on Earth. They do share genetics because, the whole theory of, like, common ancestry where, like, everything, if you go back far enough, comes from, like, one life form that split and then mutated, and then eventually that became 2 different forms of life and then split, more mutations, 3, 4, 5, up until now, the variety we see today. But the octopus has very different DNA. Like, it shares not a very little amount, but it shares, like, the least with everything. Like, the family that the octopus falls under is genetically very different from the rest of life on Earth. And one of the
DNA is different too, right?
That's what I mean, the genetic material.
Okay. I'm sorry.
So, like,
maybe too big of a words. Like, you're dragging me along here, but I just wanted to make sure we're talking about the same thing.
You know how they say, like, you share like 80 or something % of your genetics with a banana.
Yeah. So the folks at home who are, it's DNA. But yes.
But you share, like 80% of your DNA with like a banana.
Right.
So, the octopus shares even like less than that.
Yeah.
With every other thing on Earth.
Yeah.
So the fun conspiracy theory is that, like, there was an instance of panspermia after life had already evolved and got its footing, where a meteorite or something hit Earth, because Earth's been hit by tons of meteorites over the years, and it might have deposited some new life on Earth that eventually incorporated in there, but the octopus has, like, the most direct lineage to that life than the original life on Earth.
No way.
Yeah. So that's a fun conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm sure there's, like, marine biologists out there screaming at me that this has been thoroughly debunked,
but I like that idea.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. I like that. Is this a bad time to talk about the younger Dryas?
I mean, you can talk about it.
Yeah, because
we can do whatever we want. It's our podcast.
Yeah, the government doesn't want you to know.
The government doesn't want you to know, but you can talk about whatever the hell you want on your own podcast.
So, because what you were saying about the meteor, like the Earth.
Yeah.
I mean, for billions of years we've found, like, recorded strikes from meteors. So but as far back as we can tell, we know that the Earth has found itself in the stream of a meteor shower.
In fact, just last weekend there was a meteor shower.
Yeah, but ones that actually came in contact with the Earth. And so and before we go too far into things that I don't know about, but the one in particular that we wanted, the Taurid meteor stream, which is the one that they predict is the one that hit us during the Younger Dryas period,
Again,
which is
this is all theory. None of this has ever been verified, but it seems to fit the best.
well, exactly, yeah. So what's not theory now is that we've recognized the Younger Dryas.
Yeah, that time period
as
is
a time period.
confirmed. Like that's not up for debate.
Yeah,
it's
so
just
all the scientists
causes.
have agreed. From all of the core samplings and that science
Geological evidence, all of that
was finding the temperature change, and against whatever you believe about climate change, that it's been happening for a long time and it has gone in gigantic swings. But during the Younger Dryas period, it had gotten colder than it ever had before. But in that same sense, the water level...
We should clarify that Earth was on a warming trajectory when the Younger Dryas happened.
Yes.
Like, climate was trending up in temperature, and then it just dropped.
Yeah, and just dropped in a a geological like time theory.
Just
so,
dropped. Sounds like it was instant. It wasn't like overnight. It was
So
how many years for the drop?
during that climb, from the point of that climb to the point of the Younger Dryas, I believe was at least like 15,000 years. I think, like, from the point where we like started to see this climb, this trajectory, and then an absolute like fall, and then they see that this fall like was already on its trajectory, and then it just kept falling and falling and falling, and then the point where the temperature had dropped even further below we'd ever seen it before.
Not period, but like in that time period specifically.
Yeah. We had seen at the same exact time the sea level rise. So now, generally speaking, over time, and all of these drops that we've seen before, a drop in temperature would equal a drop in sea level. So you wouldn't see a rise in sea level once because of the low temperature, all of the water that would be on the Earth at that time was suspected to have frozen.
Yeah.
And so then as those warming stages come in, then you would see a rise in sea level.
As it melted and drained back into the ocean.
Exactly. Yeah, they find themselves in creeks and whatever, valleys, wherever, and then eventually back into the oceans, and then that sea level in the ocean would have rose. So in this sense, we have colder than usual temperatures and at the same exact time a rise in sea level. And the prediction is that a meteor shower hit the Earth just at the right point. And there's a couple like theories on where it could have hit that would have made this make sense, but the first meteor strike would have had to hit directly into an ice cap off of the eastern coast, which would have knocked large amounts of ice into the Gulf Stream. So into our oceans,
the Gulf Stream.
Yeah, into our oceans on like the east coast of the northern Northern America down to like South America, and that would have just put literally just a block into the Gulf Stream. So like not only like physical ice, but also just the temperature
and dropping a bunch of fresh water into the Gulf Stream.
Exactly.
It just ruins its like
so
whole
that
cycle.
would be So exactly. So we would have a low temperature, which means ice, and then meteor hits. Now all of that
pushes
ice
a bunch of shit into
and
the
water,
ocean.
Which pushes all of that ice into the water, and then creates a higher sea level, and then from that time, the big thing about that and what makes this theory work is the fact that. So what did happen is that from that point, the sea level did drop at record temperatures than it had ever dropped before. And the reason for that would have been because of this, the Gulf Stream being cut off. Because what the Gulf Stream, essentially, the most important thing that it does for us on this planet is the warming of the entire planet. If we were to just like put a blockade in front of like where the Gulf Stream moves throughout all of its oceans, and there's 5 Gulf Streams, but at least in like this one Gulf Stream, like that could put us back into an ice age.
So you found the cure to global warming.
Well, I'm not saying that.
No better cure for global warming than an ice age.
Yeah, I suppose.
I would like to just point out, not to you, but like just in general, the Gulf Stream is incredibly important at regulating Earth's entire.
That's what I'm saying.
Temperature.
That's what I'm saying. That like so if we just blocked off the Gulf Stream and it stopped moving water, that would drastically change the temperature.
It moves
of the
warm
entire
water
Earth.
from the equator up to the northern like ice caps, and it keeps it from basically spreading too far, and freezing out the entire.
Yeah, it's the Earth's temperature regulating system, and there's 5 of these major oceans that make up these like great oceans that all make up like the Gulf Stream. So it's this ever going changing of water throughout the.
They wrote it
exactly. So that's what would have made those temperatures then drop even further into this younger Dryas period. And then just as that point where we think that the temperatures can't get any colder, they then rise even faster than they had even frozen. And then the theory is in the other side, is that now these meteors would have hit directly into the oceans. Is like the main theory, is that like meteors would have had to have broken that up, large explosions, large amounts of heat coming from these meteor strikes into these oceans, which would have rose the temperature in the Gulf Stream and then returned it back to normal. And then it did that for the remainder of, whatever, a couple hundred years at the tail half of that younger Dryas period, where the temperatures then drastically increase. And then from the tail half of that younger Dryas period, we've had a very steady, just gentle warming of the planet to today, and that's where we are today. So it's a huge discrepancy on whether or not these meteor strikes are the cause of that. Well, we know the younger Dryas period exists, and we know that we're now on like the tail half of that. So I like the meteor theory, but there's a lot of meteorologists and other geologists.
It's still contested.
But I think now that everyone has all confirmed and appreciates, what's the right word? I guess recognizes the younger Dryas period. Now it's on it's on the realm for people to start studying now that it's a confirmed, legitimate thing. So hopefully we'll have more data going into this, and more people will start, funding research to figure out what exactly happened. But I like that theory.
Yeah, that's gonna be something that's really hard to prove out, though.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
really hard.
But they can do that with these core samples, and that's what they'll kind of end up figuring out is how you would do that. I would just kind of guess on how they figured out all of this information in the first place, is that they take core samples of scientific using science. They'll figure out the certain parts of the world where they think that would have made the most sense, where could this actually have happened to actually make the results that we're seeing. Go to those places and take core samples and look specifically at the soil to see if they're seeing anything that's foreign.
Yeah, I mean the biggest issue with that, just not like I'm trying to contest it this happened, but the biggest issue with proving it is if you're looking for the meteors that hit at the cap that kicked this whole thing off,
are they gone? Did it move?
How far down under that ice is it now? Because the ice. It's always snowing and building up higher and higher. So it's under God knows how many
dude,
thousands of feet of ice.
I haven't looked into too much of the ice core samples, but bro, they go far.
They do, but
they go far. I mean, far enough to figure out that this was the temperature.
And then on top of that, the core samples this big around, something like that.
Yeah.
So you got to pinpoint the exact location where this thing landed to hope to find it.
Oh, dude, no. I don't think that's the issue. I think they could take core samples all day long, 365 for the next 20 years, but it's so easy to see through these core samples of the molecules in the ice, almost better than the way that the way they figured out in Earth.
You're
looking
at any debris that rained down that got caught in the ice,
It's
or
bugs.
changes in the
It's
the
bugs.
atmosphere.
So when they're looking at like in the core samples in the ground, they're actually looking for bugs.
well, that's when they're going through the dirt. Not
Yeah,
the
exactly.
ice.
In ground.
But if they're
yeah,
looking
if they're
for the
taking
ones up at the
core
polar
samples
ice
for
caps.
ice, yeah.
Actually, if they hit the polar ice caps, they might not even hit land. Because that's
that's so one part of the meteor shower. The theory is one part of the meteor shower hit an ice cap, which then in turn ruined the Gulf Stream.
Yeah, that's what I'm
and
talking
then
about.
overcooled.
So if they're
the
looking
Earth.
for, like-
the next one hit the oceans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Neither
and
of
then
those are
warmed
on
it
land.
back up.
So, like, if you wanted to do core sampling to look for the actual meteor, good luck.
I mean, I would say that like wherever it hit these ice caps is probably still frozen today.
Yeah, but if it knocked those chunks off, and the ice caps are pretty deep, but if a meteorite hit Earth and
Yeah.
was able to knock enough off, that thing punched through the ice. It's in the
Probably.
ocean.
Yeah.
So both of these, if you wanted like definitive proof, you'd need to like find the crater, and then get a sample from that crater to be able to date it.
Yeah. You almost have to like look through the ice.
Yeah,
That's what
it'd be
you're saying.
easier to find the one that supposedly landed in the ocean, but you got to figure out where in the ocean.
I know. Yeah,
So, like I said,
and
it's gonna
again,
be hard to,
people who
prove
understand
this
it
out.
would understand like, hey, well, if it was gonna do it, like this would be the perfect
Well, the
spot.
other issue is like the Gulf Stream shifts a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It stays in like the same general area.
Yeah,
but
but they can probably figure that out over time, like where it shifts. They
It's-
can figure out patterns of where it
it's
shifts and then like
random.
move that. Yeah, maybe.
Like-
Maybe it's random. Maybe it's random, but I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, like
That's for these scientists to figure out, not for you and I.
No,
this
this is
is
above
all
my
This
pay
is all I
grade.
know. But it's still cool when it's fun to understand like how we got to a livable temperature. You know?
I believe I forget what the classification or like the group of time is, but I know we're in the Holocene.
the
epoch,
time period.
the epoch.
Yeah.
I believe that's what it is.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's the time period we're in, and the Holocene started right after the Younger Dryas.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. So that was a
There
major
are,
tange, but to that, dinosaurs in Texas.
Dinosaurs in Texas.
Yeah, city in
Yeah.
Houston, right? Found some. Do you have that picture up? Let's find these dinosaur feet. Dude, did they say how big those were? I mean, they look like.
Actually, what kind of dinosaurs are they?
I bet.
Do we even know?
I don't know, but let's go back up to the top and just give me the city.
Oh, there's the dinosaur. Good luck pronouncing that.
So the 13 million year old footprints were largely made by the carnivorous Acrocanthosaurus.
Acrocanthosaurus.
Canthosaurus.
I don't know
yeah.
where I'm supposed to emphasize there. But
Acrocanthosaurus. We'll go with that.
a crocanthosaurus?
I'm gonna go
Too many
acro.
syllables.
I'm gonna go Acrocanthosaurus.
Acrocan of the thesauruses. Gotcha.
Acrocan of worms. But it should be Houston, Texas, huh? Drought conditions cause Dinosaur Valley State Park, Pollux.
The Paluxy River.
Paluxy River to dry up and reveal tracks not usually visible.
Yeah. I don't think that has
Interesting.
anything to do with that.
Yeah, so like, I mean, give them a goog if you're watching. But I mean, bro, what are those, like 2 feet? Like a 2 foot square for a footprint?
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm just gonna do this.
Like a 1 by 2. Yeah, let's look up this motherfucker.
Oh, wow,
Holy
it looks like it's
shit.
related to
Oh, click on
T-Rex.
the image with the scale.
That's what I was gonna look for. Huh, there you go. Yeah.
Holy shit, it's so big, dude.
Not quite as big as a T-Rex, but big.
Yeah, I mean, it's taller.
like
taller than a school bus, longer than a school
Yeah, it's
bus.
like a 2/3 T-Rex.
Yeah.
Scale model T-Rex.
Yeah. Yeah, 2/3 T-Rex. Just a small T-Rex is what it looks like. Holy shit.
Still big.
Yeah, man, dude, those things just roamed around. Isn't that nuts? So, like, that's why I say, like, I love saying that. We talked so much about the ocean already. We just turned it into an ocean podcast. But if half of the things that were in the ocean could come up onto Earth, You just
On
like
the land,
walk right
just-
out. Yeah, onto Earth, but onto land.
You'd be seeing some nightmare
Yeah,
fuel.
dude. I feel like we would be so many decades behind where we are now. Just like being constantly inundated by killer whales and just the giant whales and all the crazy little like critters and stuff. Like, I mean, piranhas. You ever seen River Monster?
Oh, the show.
That show, I love that show.
Yeah, that
show
show
keeps
makes me
from
scared of
sleeping.
like catfish sometimes.
Yeah, bro, that guy. I mean, hats off to that guy for creating an amazing show and to like being the best host of that show. I wouldn't even know who else I would want to do that show. It's amazing, but watching that like one episode of that show, like I don't want to sleep anymore, and I'm scared of everything now. I'm like, the first episode is like a bus of like tourist that just drives off the road and gets eaten alive by piranhas. It's like and again, a lot of these are tall tales. He's in like, you know, remote countries where like they're like, yep, that's what happened out here.
That's his whole premise. He looks
That's-
for like
yeah.
the legendary whatever monster of the
Yeah,
river,
yeah.
and he finds
But
giant fish.
What's even scarier is that there's already fish in there that are scary enough to kill everybody anyways.
don't
But then
need
there's
to-
just
we don't need to
You guys are
exaggerate.
there's no we don't need to pander at all. Like that shit's already dangerous.
Yeah,
But
but
that show's nuts.
yeah, and then these fossils. There was another fossil in I think it was China that was super well preserved. So much so that like there were impressions of the scales on the thing. You know,
Yeah.
not just the pattern, but like the color. They were able to tell pigmentation
What is this
based
thing you
off
got?
of this. This is the
Oh, this is the thing you're talking
yeah,
about?
that's from the fossil that they found. They were able to recreate it. Like, so much was preserved in this thing that they made a model on. Like, at this point, it's probably the most accurate representation of a real dinosaur that we have, down to color, texture of the skin, and anatomy and all that. They could see like the outline of the soft body as well as just a skeleton, so they knew like how big the muscles were for certain parts of it and all
Tissue.
that. So I don't even know how to pronounce this. There's too many consonants next to each other, but it's Psittacosaurus, whatever the hell that spells. You want to look up that dinosaur?
Bob, I want to take Psittacosaurus for 200.
Totally. I think either that P or the S at the front is silent. So
Or
it's
so what? So
Psittacosaurus.
Psittacosaurus. That's pretty good. Yeah, Psittacosaurus. Or Psittacosaurus. Yeah, I think that's good. I like that. I agree with that.
But yeah,
Okay.
they found a fossil for that that's just like immensely well preserved. They're like the colors that they've picked for the model
Yeah.
are probably pretty damn close to what it actually was.
Can you find that the
actual fossil?
the fossil of it? Oh, he's cute.
I don't know what this.
He's got a
website
cute
is.
little face.
Oh, you know what? Let's go back to this.
Yeah, man, dinosaurs are nuts. This is like the
and
craziest.
it really it's really sad when you think about how much has been lost to history,
I know.
because
How much of our own history do you think that is going to be lost when we're gone?
when we're gone,
Because like I always hear people talk about the fact that we have so much data stored on digital devices that, yeah, that's wild. That is a. So how long is that? We're tanging back to the picture of this fossil. So it's like it's stuck in that slab, huh?
yep, return the slab.
Return the slab. Courage the Cowardly Dog. Shout out.
When did you?
If you know, you know.
126 to 101 million years ago.
Yeah.
So that specific fossil, I don't know, but somewhere in that range.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense.
But yeah, as far as like if humanity was to simply end, how
What's
much
left?
of our culture would survive, or
Yeah.
if like it had to start over for whatever reason
Yeah.
and they found ruins. We look at ancient ruins now, and there are tons of gaps to fill that we might not ever fill.
Yeah.
But their records and their buildings were made of stone and carved in stone.
And they stuck there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Our houses are not.
Like, you leave a building alone for like 5 years and the roof starts caving in.
Yeah.
And, a lot of our written records are on paper and stored digitally. Digital
So
records,
paper, I feel like, has a good shot.
if it's well protected.
Yeah. I think usually they are. Like, important documents are... Well, the Vatican wasn't, right?
Well,
Or no, what burnt down? That library? Alexandria.
The Library of Alexandria.
Yeah.
But,
how crazy is that?
yeah, how much
That
did we
should have been
lose?
a topic we should have brought up, bro. I mean, I haven't looked into that, but I remember when it happened.
We'll research that. We'll research like the Dark Ages, like the medieval times. They're called the Dark Ages because
how much information
we lost so much.
It's
like
so nuts.
Humanity got set back like 1,000 years.
Yeah.
So that's a whole nother thing we can speculate on.
Yeah, we'll touch back on
But
that some other time.
with all of our records today being stored on paper in a lot flimsier buildings than we used to build in ancient times, and a lot of our stuff being on digital media, like digital breaks down over time.
Sure.
CDs rot.
Yep.
And servers, when they lose power, will eventually
film same way. Film.
Yeah, film
decays over time, right?
So honestly, it's gonna be hard to say what gets preserved in today's society.
Yeah, we haven't done anything that makes it
our works are a lot less permanent.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, for some of the major events, unfortunately, the 9/11 memorial, which is all, I guess it's probably, I'll just call it stone, but the whole thing's all done in stone, you know what I mean? So stuff like that will stay, and our monuments will stay, our old historic buildings in New York City.
And even then, though, a lot of our stone monuments and whatnot, I'm not sure about their longevity on geological timescales, because a lot of them have metal.
But they beat all
the
new houses.
Yeah. But they have a lot of metal in them.
Yeah.
And that's the weak point. Metal revolutionized our capabilities.
Yeah.
But it's a lot less permanent than stone.
Yeah.
It will rust. It'll break apart.
I guess. I mean, I gotcha. I mean, nothing is susceptible to everything.
Time.
Yeah, to time. But everything.
The pyramid has no rebar to worry about.
Yeah.
But the Washington Monument, I'm pretty sure, has a metal skeleton.
Yeah, dude, are they preserving the ancient pyramids, like Pyramid of Giza and stuff? Do they keep up with it? Do they make sure that it stays okay, or are they just cool with it? Or is it just not fucking up?
It's already lasted 4,000 years with minimal human intervention.
Yeah, fair enough.
And when you get to that, you kind of have this gray area where, do you just leave it and not touch it, or do you touch it and now it's no longer as original as it was?
Yeah.
You start messing with it.
You're changing it. Yeah, that's fair.
So I don't know what approach they take.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's a dilemma that they have to wrestle with.
I know that they used to give tours of the Pyramid of Giza, and you could walk on top of it. Did you ever hear about that?
I feel like that's something that was done
probably 20 years
decades ago.
Yeah, 10. So
longer than that.
The reason, it wasn't that long ago. The reason they stopped doing it, fun fact. If you're listening, it's going to get a little weird. Somebody fucked on top of the Pyramid of Giza, and they were like, "We're done. That was it. That was the last thing." And they filmed it. It was yeah. So that was it. That was the last.
Ruined it for everyone.
Yep, ruined it for everybody, just because that's what they wanted to do. So I was a little.
Honestly, I'm surprised they let that go.
Yeah,
for
somebody
long.
Someone from France or something. Not
because especially in just the last 20, 30 years, we've gotten, I feel a lot more serious about preserving things as they were and minimizing our impact on them. You go to a cave nowadays, and they don't want you touching the walls because the oils on your hand will corrode the rock.
Yeah.
They're very touchy about things like that we leave them untouched.
Yeah, I think this was in the early days where Egypt was
I was gonna say
for money.
If we're talking,
they didn't have a city outside of.
If we're talking
yet.
the 40s after the war, 50s, 60s, I could totally see people.
Maybe
just
it was
let's
that
just
long
go walk
ago.
on
I
top
might
of the
be
pyramid
wrong.
because
they
were a lot less particular about those kinds of things when it came
The
to
right people
conservation.
didn't come along to say like, hey, you guys don't realize what you're doing. You can't take a tour up the
Yeah,
fucking
you step
tower,
on it like
up the
you think
the
you're not
pyramid of
damaging
Giza.
it, but like you go to any bit of rock and just rub your finger on it, and you get a little bit of sand.
You're taking some home.
So you
I would
have
take a little grain of
thousands
sand.
of tourists stepping all over the pyramids. You're going to kind of accelerate the wear.
Yeah. Yeah. When are you gonna go do a tour of the ancient pyramids?
Let's let
Would
the
you ever
world
do it?
calm down first. And
I
honestly,
think it's as calm as it's gonna get. I think it fires up from here. I think we keep going. I think we push past.
I'm scared
and-
that you're right.
Yeah, I know.
Like just international travel in general just seems like it's so much more of a hassle, and I don't know if it's just we're more aware of the issues or if like it's just getting harder to travel without being accosted by scammers and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Dude, I bet there's a lot of that going on in front of the pyramid.
Oh, absolutely. But like there's a lot of that going on. Like if you go to Paris and they hear you say anything with an American accent or you look American, they'll target you.
Oh yeah.
And that's a a fully developed first world nation.
Yeah, I know. I've heard a lot of good things about like different even like places like weird places like I feel like I'm what comes up to my mind is like Belgium. Like Belgium has like a weird like not good tourist scene, but like a Paris for sure. So I've heard that like Paris as a city has gone down where it's like it's not even a good place to even go and hang out. And that you probably will be mugged. You probably
feel like
will
that
be
about
scammed.
all cities
Yeah.
lately, especially.
Yeah, they're like, and it'll just be like, oh, I'll buy this for 20, and they're like, okay, cool, and then give me the change for this, and they're like, oh, no, here, give me 2 10s, and I'll give you this, and then go that, like, okay, cool, oh, here's your change.
Now you're missing $50 somehow.
And it's like, what the hell did I just do? And like, they're like, here's your hat.
And it's not even just that. It's like, oh, how much for this hat? $50, and then a local comes by. Oh, can I buy one of these hats? Yeah, $10.
Yeah, because they're like, I can't fool this guy, but like this guy would just buy it.
Yeah. That's why when I went to the Philippines, I didn't talk to anyone. I let my mom or my cousins or my uncles talk.
Yeah. That's so funny, dude. Like there's such a feeling when you're a foreigner. And I've never been to another country. I've only been to different states, but I remember my first time going to New York City and feeling like I had never really been to cities
Outside
like big
of Wilmington, which is
Wilmington, which I didn't spend much time in, and even then I just shut up, like I wasn't like trying to like meet the guy who was standing out in front of the store I was walking
with the
into.
locals.
Yeah, I'm not I'm just trying to keep my head down and just do my thing. So we went to New York City as a full on like tourist, and my mom and sister are like living up to every age of tourism,
every stereotype.
Yeah. And so and they're doing things that you wouldn't even think of any other time, but because I know that I'm a foreigner in this city, and like I'm not like from their town or even like that part of town or even New York City in general or any city, I don't have like no etiquette. Like I'm like I almost like couldn't stand them. I'm like, you guys have to stop. I was like, stop. We can't stop and take pictures of everything. Like we can't stop and ask
people on the
like,
sidewalk.
Like, why are we asking people for directions? Like I have the GPS in my hand. Like, well, what if you're going the wrong way? They might have a shortcut. And I'm like, Mom,
asking people
you
for
have to
shortcuts
be
is like
crazy. I was like, we're gonna be mugged. Like we have to like keep a low profile here and just kind of do our thing and there's nothing wrong with interacting with other people. There's nothing wrong with that. But like when you are in a city, like there is a little bit of that threat, and you don't want to like not interact with people, but you just don't want to put yourself in a vulnerable situation.
You don't want to mark yourself as a target.
Exactly. Because you have to take whatever that person is telling you, especially if you're asking for advice, as merit, and because you don't know any better. And so because of that, just opens up such a vulnerability, and that's what you're saying. Like, God, I mean, imagine being in another country.
Well, especially like the Philippines, they hear an American accent and they assume you're rich.
Yeah.
But which, I mean, comparatively, you
New York, you can do the same thing. I mean, they can just read it on your face. You're like, oh, you're not from here, are you?
Yeah. When I went to New York,
when
I went to New York, I didn't take pictures unless I was like in a touristy place surrounded by other tourists.
Yeah.
But when I was like walking somewhere, straight ahead.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
Hands in my pocket.
Yeah.
Not a care in the world. Just walking to where I need to go.
Not just like, oh, wow. Oh, wow. Look at all these things. Like, gosh, did you see the stones?
Nope, I can see them in the distance. I don't
Like,
need to look at them when I get close.
I registered them on the way as I was walking. I'm taking it all in as I walk. We're not gawking. We're not overselling.
Yeah, not head down, because that's just like, no.
Yeah,
just
yeah.
Dead ahead, where I need to go.
Yeah. You want to be aware, but not vulnerable. But
just look like you belong there.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was trying to explain to them. Like, because they're all like kind of getting, I'm bumming them out. I'm like, well, I mean, be a little bummed. Like, like, make sure we don't get mugged. You know?
Yeah, no, I had the same thing with like my mom, especially. I'm like, Mom, we're just tone it down with the pictures.
Dude, well, you know what's gonna fix all of that though is Neuralink.
When you can just visit places without ever leaving your house.
No, better than that, I can just read your mind. I can ask you a question. I'm like, hey,
that doesn't fix it. That makes it worse.
It does make it worse. I can know now that they're gonna rob me.
No, that's not how that would work. What would happen is
that's how. So the way that Elon has on the record has described Neuralink, and the goal that he would like is that he would like us to speak without speaking.
Yes, but obviously there would need to be a way to turn that like on or off, where someone can't just up and read your mind. That's a complete invasion of privacy. No one would go for it otherwise.
I think it's a slippery slope.
But some less scrupulous people might be able to hack your Neuralink, like they hack your computer and then they have access to your mind. So like you could be sitting here looking like you're blending in, but then they peep in your mind like blend in, don't look around, blend in, and then they're like, there we go.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be that they're going to be broadcasting to you that they're going to rob you. They're just going to be able to read that you're an easy mark, you're not from here, blah blah blah.
That's one perspective. Or they just open AI it the whole way, and then they're just like, nope, we're not going to allow a barrier there, because that is the worry, is that there was any kind of intrusion.
That is not going to go anywhere fast. No one would allow that.
I don't think we might not have a choice. Like, I think the way that that technology is a long way away, but Neuralink is not that far, and they're already doing Neuralink. And the idea being is that like they can do Neuralink for people who have brain damage, or like, like something where
traumatic
like their traumatic brain injury, like some kind of an event that like their brain is inhibiting them to do something. Mm-hmm. Who knows what it is? I don't like, is Parkinson's part of that?
Probably.
Yeah, so like things like that, where like Neuralink could fix all of that. They could just rewire someone's brain, and then they could just return some mobility to them, or to, return some thought, or regain memory, or like be able to like just create new memories now that they have it. So that's the aid of it, and then from there, I mean, you have to imagine that the bill doesn't stop there. It's like then going to be like, well, yeah, if someone else had a Neuralink, I guess they could, learn a lot of things, and they could have a lot of information, that would just be like directly linked to them in their Neuralink, and they would just be able to just like, you would be Googling things in your head.
Yeah,
and then before you know it, like then like maybe we're talking 200 years. Let's just, we'll just kind of playing around. But like before you know it, that's where it ends, is that like we all read each other's minds.
That lack of privacy is a big, like,
because also Neuralink,
I can definitely foresee there being privacy issues, but I see that more to just the same issues we have right now with data and Facebook. Like, so I can see data being scraped from your mind and being sold to advertisers and such.
That'll be in the middle somewhere.
But the social aspect of it, I don't think people would just be okay with their thoughts being open to everyone all the time.
No, I don't think they will be open to it. I don't think they're going to want it, and then it's just going to happen, and they're not going to have a choice, because they're going to be so tied. Because like at that point, you'd be like, why wouldn't they just rip the Neuralink out? Screw that. They're like, but no, the Neuralink is everything. The Neuralink is me. The Neuralink is helping me make my decisions. It's helping me run fast. It's helping me.
Yeah, you're saying that society becomes dependent on it.
My Neuralink helps me sleep less and do more, and
then at that
think
point
better.
they can turn that on. But like, Why would they do that though? Unless there's a profit.
Greed. I was like, when you said profit, I was
Unless
already
there's a
like, I was
profit.
vomiting greed in my mind.
Yeah. Where do you get
Yeah.
the profit from making it so that I can't stop you from reading my thoughts? You specifically.
Or it could
Not-
be, or
not-
it could be just control. I mean, greed doesn't have to be always like financial. Could be control. Could be influence. It could be software updates. It could be, you know, updates. It could be new models. It could be.
I want to make it clear. Like, I'm not saying I don't see anyone taking advantage of people just straight up, like.
I'm just saying
rejecting
this is
it.
going to be a Black Mirror episode.
Yeah.
So
no,
Black
that we
Mirror,
can agree
you can
on.
have it.
I mean, as long as Elon has his say, I don't think it's going to go that direction, but he's not going to be alive forever. I know I'm going to catch a lot of shit for saying that because a ton of people hate Elon, but I don't think the man's evil.
He's not. He's definitely not. And that's what I'm saying. I don't think he's making Neuralink for that reason.
No, but it
I
will
think that
eventually
he-
happen
Yeah, I
when
think
his
that he
hand's no longer on the
realizes
wheel.
all of the great benefits of it, and just like everything that he's done, like, you know, he weighs all of his options. He's like an intelligent person and like in his understanding all of this, but he also acutely understands of like things that are also like the inevitable. You know, he's
Yeah,
like
he-
why make an electric car if there's like no infrastructure? He goes, well,
We'll
I'll
build
make
the
it.
infrastructure.
He's like, oh, what if the infrastructure doesn't like combat it? I was like, well, we'll fix that. I was like, what do you mean? Like, I don't have to make every decision because like something else is gonna happen. Like, there's like imminent danger. Like, he's not over here creating like the next, you know, nuke. You know, he's not doing
No,
that.
he's very outspoken
he's
about-
just
against,
making
like,
technology.
He's very outspoken about the dangers of technology as
Sure.
well. That's why he started his own AI company. I mean, he had a hand in the beginning of OpenAI, and that ended up getting bought by Microsoft, and he's very upset with how that's
Yeah.
going. So he's now started his own second AI company, but
Yeah.
his whole thing, his self-proclaimed message is like, you know, I would like to help push this technology forward as far as it can, but we need to do it with safeguards. We need to do it right.
Yeah, respect to freedom.
When it comes to like Neuralink, especially, I can definitely see him. And again, he doesn't do all this work himself. Obviously, he has a team of engineers that he hires to do this stuff. But you know, his direction is going to be to put as many protections in place as possible to prevent stuff like that.
Yeah.
But he is not going to be around forever.
Yeah.
And over time, things get corrupted.
It's checks and balances, man. And then like the thing is that then who gets to decide what those are?
Yeah, like when he's out of the picture, who's not like what stops someone from undoing it? I'm sure Elon's going to try to put a system in place to prevent that, but like that system can be
and
eroded
also
over time.
I mean, here's the other thing too, and I don't think this is going to happen, but it's a reality. But it's like, who's to say that like Elon doesn't change and becomes corrupt?
Yeah, that
You know what
that
I mean?
too.
And like most people don't have onset corruption. They kind of start out that way, or at least they're like a very like adolescent, like 20s kind of age. Like they find that like they got the evil bone. But I mean, you know, who knows? You know, and all it would take is like for him to like see like, or anyone to just see, because like the issue is like, even if Elon isn't there, or even he is there, that who does get to make these decisions? Like when it does come down to having something like Neuralink or like an AI-driven like system, which is I'm sure going to work hand in hand.
Oh,
Neuralink,
absolutely.
yeah, it's gonna, you know,
You're going to have a virtual AI assistant in
yeah,
your brain.
Yeah, you're gonna have like they're like, yeah, you're driving too fast, or you've had too much to eat, or you've had, or you haven't made enough money this week, or you have been sleeping in too much.
It's not even just that. Like you'll get people dependent on asking it to make decisions. Like what would be best if I do this and then like if you take it away from them, like
Like,
panic.
hey, should I have this to eat? And that's fun. And then it's like, oh, like, should I ask this person
should I
out?
invest in
Or
this market?
or,
is this
yeah.
person compatible with
should
me?
I fire this person?
Should I have a child
Oh,
now? Like yeah.
no.
Yeah, humanity
That's
has this nice
crazy.
habit of getting real cozy and dependent on
We
our
do. We like it
technology.
easy. We like people to make the hard
Yeah, like
decisions
I could
for
not
us.
function without this.
Yeah.
Even though
That's-
I'm a 90s kid, I grew up without
That's
these.
right. That also reminds me. That was like his number one like thought process to Neuralink. He was like, we are already like robots. We're already androids because we walk around with
Yeah, and
our
if you're
cell phones all the time.
an influencer or a content
He's
creator,
like-
you become a slave to the algorithm.
Yeah, but he's like, we don't go anywhere without our phones. He's like, what does it matter if it's in our pocket or if it's in the side of our head?
Mm-hmm.
That freaks you out. And it's like,
Yeah.
that freaks people out.
It does freak me out because in technology and like computers, there's something called an air gap.
Mm-hmm.
If you have like an air gapped server or whatever, like let's say you're developing a very vicious malware. Let's say you're a government and you're developing a malware that could potentially cripple another government, and you want to test it. You get what's called an air-gapped server.
Mm-hmm.
You build your like virtual machine on this server. You load up your governmental programs that you want to see test it against, but you make sure that this has no connection to any network at all.
Yeah.
There is an air gap between
Yeah.
this thing and the internet. The term made more sense before we developed Wi-Fi, but
Yeah.
so with my phone, there's an air gap between it and my mind.
Yeah.
Neuralink is directly plugged in my brain. That's what skeeves me out the most about it.
Yeah.
I do I like the concept of it. I just don't know if I trust the corporations, including Elon's companies, which I think are some of the least corrupt companies out there, and that's another controversial hot take I'm gonna get shit for.
Yeah.
But even them, I don't know if I could trust with my mind.
I don't think anybody can. And
I don't think it's safe to follow any company at all.
Bingo.
To that degree.
So that was my next point, is I don't think anyone thinks it's safe to, but there are a lot of dumb people out there, especially a lot of dumb people that have a lot of money, and they're going to be like, I would love to be able to read my email, go through my social media, post, give basically have a GoPro strapped to my head through my eyeball.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want that. And then before you know it, they're like, yeah, I'm jumping higher, I'm sleeping less, I'm smarter, I've never done written math again in my life. Like, every check is paid. I can figure out the tip on everything. I can figure out the math of a trajectory. I know algebra again. Like, I know I'm starting to understand quantum theory because of this Neuralink that's in my head. Like, I'm better in every aspect, and this
there's
is
something
amazing.
to be said about the tangible benefits this potentially has.
And everyone else who can physically afford and physically do those things, they're gonna do it, and then it's gonna spread so much that
It's the
come down to
must-have
people
thing.
like you and I, where you don't trust it, but you're I might lose my job. I'm falling behind in the job that I'm doing now. I can't keep up with the other people that I work with. I have to get
it's the new
this.
reality.
Yeah, and it's even socially. They'll be like, oh, what, you didn't get a Neuralink?
You have an Android?
You have a phone. What are you carrying that around for? Are you sure that thing works? I mean, gosh, that's pretty heavy.
I haven't seen one of these in a decade.
Yeah, I mean,
Did you get that at a museum?
Yeah, exactly. You're going to be, a social nightmare. So, of course, everyone's going to get it. And then by that point, it'll be affordable. And then that'll, just like it was with a phone. I mean, when you had the idea of cell phones in cars was nuts. They were like, this is dumb. Why would you need that? And then they were like, this is great.
Yeah.
And then they were like, you know what? Let's just make it so I can take it out of my car. And they're like, that's even better. And then that worked. And then they were like, you know what? I kind of need it everywhere. And they were like, okay, cool.
Let's put internet on it.
You have it. And and then it went to the Nokia came out, and that was awesome. And it was a brick, and it was it was awesome. And then boom, blossoms this market of cell phones.
I mean, you
into
are
where we are today.
100% right, and that's how it would progress. And how it's almost inevitable.
But
because
will society put the kibosh on it and say, no, we don't want that? We're not ready.
I hate to say it, but I'm not sure if they would, because, and here's your real world example that is happening now. If you had gone to the early 2000s when phones were just getting internet and all that, and you said, hey, did you know that every single app is going to track every single keystroke you do?
Oh, my.
And it's going to track your location, and it's going to be able to predict so much about you.
That's so true, but I think
and you're not going to be able to do anything about it because you will be socially and mentally crippled without it.
Yeah, dude, that's so true. And I don't know if you watched the Black Mirror episode already.
I haven't,
but please do. Not to spoil it for you, but that's pretty much what happens to this person in this scenario, is that they agreed to a terms and contract whenever they signed into something. Whether it was their phone or it's through an app
or service.
And now they have their face, and they can just use it, and they can just use their life, and then it doesn't matter, and no one can sue anybody. They're just stealing this person's life and just making it TV, and she's watching her life unveil on TV.
And it's such a gradual
but
just fall into this.
What I'll say though is that don't you think that it's already done? To your point, what you're saying is that don't you? You're right. I think that if we could, if we could go back in time 10 years before we hit our first, read the terms and accept on our phones, and we knew that it was going to be like this, we're like, who knows what they're putting in there? Who knows what we've already consigned to and said? Because, like, have you ever read one of those terms and conditions?
I did once. I think it was for iTunes. It hurt.
Yeah. And
I
that was
never did it
before
again.
that was before there was probably even any like malfeasance, and you were just worried about your parents' computer at home.
Oh no, I was bored.
Okay,
I just wanted to see if I could do
fair.
it. If I could even do it. It was a
I don't
struggle.
know about what the viewers do at home when they're bored, but that's what makes the difference between Adrian and me. But my point being is that, like, we wouldn't have wanted this. As good as it is right now, with our
Facebook would not
phones,
have gotten
we
as big as it
wouldn't-
was if people had known the scandals
Yeah.
that they've gone through with, like, data privacy.
Yeah, the issue is that we would have said no, and you're right. But we didn't say no, and now we're here. And we've hit that button so many times.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's such a gradual
Is that roller
little-
coaster gone? It's
such a gradual, slippery slope, and I kind of hate using that term, but, like, Facebook did legally get in trouble with all this stuff. There were hearings in Congress and all that, and we've put some protections in place, but the amount of data that they still have access to legally now would still be completely unacceptable 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But because it was really bad, and, like, we've kind of appeased the masses a little bit and dialed it back a bit, and put ask not to track and all that stuff on the phones.
Yeah.
And the general public's like, okay, I feel better. But it's still ridiculous amounts of data they're farming off of you,
Yeah.
and things that if you look into it are kind of concerning.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And you're so right.
And it's
and,
only
like,
going to go in further
I didn't
in that
even.
direction.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know, like, to the extent that you were just saying, but, like, I knew that it was bad. But, like, that's kind of what I was saying, is that, like, but, like, are you, when the next update comes in, are you not gonna, like, accept to the terms and conditions?
No, yeah,
Like,
I'm gonna.
Yeah, that's my point. It's like we're already
Yeah.
on that trajectory. Like 10 years ago, could we had stopped Neuralink? We had stopped that thing from happening? Maybe.
Yeah,
If we had already stopped to this, but, like, they're seeing that this is done. They're like, we already got them. And, like, not that they may even have us in a trap, but, like you're saying, like, it's not like they're, like, gonna come in and just, like, take our house because we hit, accepting terms to conditions. But what they are gonna do is take every bit of our data and probably listen to us while we're doing this entire podcast. So, like,
Yeah, the
but
CIA
that's
is breaking out the heart attack gun
already
right now. We're getting too close to the truth.
Yeah, we're hitting too close to the truth now. We're gonna get Adrian and I love our lives. We would never commit suicide. So if you're watching this, that's
But for real though, I am not suicidal.
for real. We're not. Don't. If we're going, find us. Find somebody. But seriously, I think that wheel is already turned. It's already done, and, like, we would sign up for Neuralink just like it was like the new iPhone. We wouldn't care. I think it would be a little shaky. I think at first
I would have reservations again because I like
We
the
would
air
see
gap
the-
between my thoughts.
Of course, I think a lot of people
And
would.
my
I think it
data.
would probably take 5 years, and it would take, like, we would watch on our
Well,
old
you know how they would do it?
prehistoric phones. We'd watch all these rich people doing great
Now,
things.
do you know
with
how
the
they would do it
Neuralink.
though? The first couple Neuralinks wouldn't be, like, connected to any network. They would just be for, like,
And then they hit the button.
it would just be for, like, first
get
would be,
us
like,
all
for
in, they
medical,
go,
and then they're gonna have, like, okay, well, now that we've mapped out finer functions of the brain and what Neuralink can do, we can actually provide augments. And, like, at first it'll just be, like, to help you.
Yeah.
It'll
Isn't
it'll,
things less fuzzy now?
Yeah,
Isn't that
it'll
great?
adjust.
Look at the new emojis.
It'll adjust the brain waves or the electrical signals coming from your eyes into your brain to correct, like, vision or something.
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
a little less
Make
blurry.
It, make it better, maybe.
Yeah, it's a little
who
less
knows?
blurry now.
Make your hearing a little bit better. Fix tinnitus.
That's another thing, dude. People who are deaf, people who can't see at
People
all.
who can't feel pain.
Yeah. Oh, bro.
Yeah,
those
there's tons of, like,
people.
genuinely good applications for this.
Dude, so
which
many.
is why it's kind of inevitable.
It's gonna happen.
And then, they're going to do augmentations. Maybe they can do something with reflexes. I don't know the science behind it enough, but
they
to
can.
speculate.
Oh,
So,
they
like you
can.
said, they're going to do, like,
Genetically,
augmentations.
no, but,
then
like,
what they're going to do is they're just going to keep packaging these things as, like, upgrades for the new version. Like, now, once everyone's used to having it, internet connectivity becomes a thing. And it'll be
Yeah.
basic at first, probably. Like, you can send messages, do phone
Yeah.
calls, check emails. And then, just keep building from there. And then it's like Facebook starts off as just, like, a way to connect to your friends. That's all it does. And then they put advertisements. And they start scraping a little bit of data and then more. And now they
Yeah.
can have algorithms to, like, do trends. And, like,
Ooh.
I saw something,
Here's
actually,
one.
that was like...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I saw something that was like, just by looking at what you interact with on Facebook, it can detect with like 90% accuracy your sexual orientation, even if you don't go to like specifically gay or lesbian like things, like just by your shopping habits and whatnot.
Are you telling me that this app is assuming my gender?
It probably knows it better than you do.
How dare they?
Yeah.
How
so,
dare they?
You know, it'll start off innocuous enough, and it'll just slowly expand out. It'll be slow and gradual, so you don't even see it coming.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. What I was gonna say is that, like, you know, like, what if it was like one of those things where like it did all of these like great things, got you to put it into your head, and they're like, hey, like for, you know, $10 a month subscription, like now you can upgrade to the physical attributes, and like now you run faster, and like now like you can run a marathon. Like somebody who could like barely get through a mile can now run a marathon because it's turned off like the lactic acid receptors in your muscles, and you can just keep going.
It turns
and
off
the
the lactic
cortisol
acid
levels
production.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you know,
or
break
like
down.
Yeah, I don't know how like the body would exactly do that, but whatever. Like it's now making it so like it didn't change you at all, but it just helped your brain figure out that you could run further. Like now you can go further.
Or
now you're winning
it removes
races.
the limiters that your brain puts on like your ability to use all of your muscles at once.
Yeah.
I mean,
now we're at now. Flash forward, we're all sitting in Congress deciding whether or not we can allow Neuralink in the Olympics, and I want to see it. I want to see. I've said this about steroids for a long time, but we should bring that back
it was
to
a
at least
completely
baseball.
unrestricted Olympics. All drugs are on the table.
Yeah.
Let's see what the human body can really
Fuck
do.
yeah, amphetamines, cocaine. Come on, let's do it.
Hold it in international waters.
Yeah, dude, we'll do it on Fight Island for UFC. Fight Island, Abu Dhabi.
But seriously, drugs are bad. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do drugs unless you're gonna fight somebody. Competitively sanctioned with taxes paid.
We've learned our lessons.
We all pay our
We've
taxes.
learned our lessons, Keith. Meth couldn't save the Germans in World War II.
That's true.
So
That's
it's
true.
never worth it, kids.
Yeah. It's not worth it. Yeah.
But yeah, so Neuralink could be a great thing, and it could be a scary thing.
It's gonna blow up.
You know, Neuralink's competitors in the future, just like it's gonna be.
Yeah, it's gonna blow up, and the problem is it's gonna be the influencers. It's gonna be like the rich people. It's gonna be the mystery Fortune 500 company owners. It's gonna be people of Congress. It's gonna
be a job requirement.
Yeah, and then before you know it's a job requirement. Oh, you haven't got your Neuralink yet? Like you can't fly. Whoa.
Yeah.
I can't keep track of you.
I can't send you a wake up signal to like not fall asleep.
Oh, you got to be at work. They're like, hey, we see that you're not at work today. Social credit score. Oh, that's another thing.
I'm calling out sick. We're not registering anything in your Neuralink.
Yo, shit.
Yeah.
It could tell if you were
biometrics.
sick. It could warn you that you were sick, and then if you're trying to play sick, your boss
But hey,
can
on the other
see
hand,
it.
you can get a
Oh,
personalized
shit.
vitamin and nutrient measurement based on your live biometrics.
Yeah. How soon until we stop eating food and we're just eating our daily pills?
Soylent Green is people.
Soylent, our Soylent people, the Soylent Greens. Dude, that Soylent guy went down in a ball of fire.
It got replaced with Huel. That's the new thing.
Is it? That's the new Soylent?
Yeah.
That's so funny. They could just rebrand it until it blows up again.
It's a different company with different ingredients. But
it's just
doesn't have
slime.
the downs- It is. Like one of my coworkers used it. He was like trying to save money because
just eat his meals.
just eat his brown paste.
I don't mind like
I tried it. It was not good.
I don't mind supplementing my greens and like extra protein because I want extra of those things.
You still eat food.
I don't want to stop eating broccoli. I like broccoli. I love Brussels sprouts, surprisingly.
Man, I wish I liked broccoli.
Yeah,
I've tried.
I mean, like a cupcake. It's not competition, but like I know I like these foods and they go well with other foods and I enjoy them, and I enjoy chewing on food and like steak. And
Eating is an experience. You know?
and
it's not something to be
a
cut out as
social
an
experience too.
inconvenience.
And actually, if there would do.
I mean, we could gather around a good Huel bag.
Come on, gather around the Huel bag, give it a slap and give it a slurp. But that guy, he did a video. You may have seen it, like when Soylent, the guy who did Soylent, was like doing like a promo video, or no, maybe I'm misremembering this. Maybe it was someone who just tried Soylent and did a very in-depth video. But what he was saying was, it was. Now I'm completing this. I'm sorry, but he was just doing like a review of it, and he did it for a month. And he said like the number one thing was that like he lost all jaw muscle, and like couldn't chew anymore, and he knew that was going to happen, so he tried to chew gum as much as he could to just keep those muscles. But that's not enough. That doesn't really do anything.
Yeah.
Like you're not like there's a different we won't get into it, but like that was an issue. But he's also felt like it's this social thing that he felt the deepest connection to, where like he would go out with his friends and it didn't matter. He couldn't eat. But he was like, I'm disconnected. I don't get to enjoy the same meals. Like they're bringing out food, and I just have my little jug of Soylent. You know, like you don't get to enjoy that process of like ordering your food and trying something new and trying it. And even if it sucks, like sometimes it's fun when it sucks. You know, it's like it's the whole purpose of going out.
Yeah, and even just beyond that though, one of the controversies with Soylent, I believe, was. One of the proteins they used was
pea
I think
protein.
Was it pea?
I think so.
Yeah, but like apparently that's also just like in a lot of people like a stomach irritant.
Yeah.
So like people would take it and just shit.
Yeah, some of these vegetable proteins, like I don't know what it is, but like there's a lot.
Well, here's the thing. Humans are omnivorous, all right? We're supposed to get our protein from meat.
Yeah.
We have a hard time digesting plant protein.
Yeah, there's a lot of good things that do come from like the nutrient dense meats that we eat,
like,
especially red meat.
Plants have tons of nutritional value in them, but it's harder to get out of it.
Yeah.
Now you've got herbivores like cow and cow.
Yeah.
But
deer.
Deer, but they eat it and they digest it, and their muscle fibers and all that absorb those nutrients. That's the whole point of eating, to absorb the nutrients. It's already been like extracted from the cellulose in plants and plant matter.
Yeah.
We can digest it, just not nearly as efficiently.
Yeah.
So we need to supplement that, the fruits and vegetables that we eat with meat, which is packed full of nutrients that's already been like pre-digested by these animals.
Yeah.
And a bunch of like proteins and such that we just process better.
Yeah.
So
and protein, I feel like, is like extra, like especially today. I mean, we're almost 2 hours in, but we'll have a whole another podcast about like nutrition. And like neither one of us are nutritionists.
But that's your forte over mine.
I feel like I would say so.
Yeah. I eat so bad.
Yeah. I mean, your DoorDash rewards account can probably, yeah. Well, you got to shout out how much you have in rewards.
Dash Pass, man.
Yeah.
That saved me about $4, maybe $5,000 since I bought into the membership,
which is preposterous. But
well, I have my own feelings on why I do that.
But regardless, yeah. Now and look, and like convenience costs money. And like,
It's
there's
not
nothing
even
wrong with that.
just
I
the
get it.
We've
No,
talked
all
about it
right.
outside of this and how it breaks down financially.
Yeah, we'll touch back on that.
Yeah, we can talk about that later.
I think, what was I saying? The nutritional.
You want to do another
Yeah, so like the I think I was saying like about the nutritional value of like of getting these foods like, as opposed to like getting them from like weird like pea proteins and like other things, because like it's not that peas are bad, but like it's just like the way that these they're just a little bit more processed, so like just by virtue they end up going through like kind of like a bad, they end up not being good,
They're changed.
So like, but I think everything in moderation is 100% key, and making sure that you have a diverse diet, that you have.
It's not like we are bad at like digesting plant matter, fruits, vegetables, and all that. It's just that we weren't meant to subsist solely off it. You can.
We weren't. I think we weren't meant to. We weren't meant to be able to like sustain ourselves off of like processed foods, and so that's where like this, like the bread is a big one, and like all of these gluten allergies that are like becoming, and like understand this part where like it's because we've like sort of genetically modified our wheat. that we've created, and like these like non-GMO things are really taking off because what they're saying is that like we're non-genetically modifying our organisms with these plants.
And I mean, I think there's two things at play there, and I'm just going to touch on it briefly because this one's dragged on for a long time.
Yeah, we got a big one for you guys.
You know, it's not only that we might be altering our food, but also like kids are just so much more sheltered now. They don't get exposed to this stuff when they're young and developing, and they develop allergies.
Yeah, you know, and that's a good point. So like that's like vitamin D from the sun, like being out in sunlight.
Let your kid play outside.
Yeah,
you know, expose them to peanut butter early.
Yeah, exactly.
Have a pet. Let them get a little dirty.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
You need to build this up.
Let them dig in the dirt. Let them find worms. Let them find bugs. Like, you know, like
I still don't understand
being
how like
outside.
Your sister ended up being allergic to absolutely everything, and you just have like mild seasonal allergies.
Yeah, and like seasonal allergy is in like I'm just allergic to pollen. Like I'm more irritable to pollen. Yeah, and like I can like I'll sneeze, my eyes, whatever. But like, probably more genetic, I would say, because I was that way like as a very, very young. So like it wasn't like something I developed at like 6. I was like 4 and like outside at like a baseball game or like
allergies started.
Yeah, or I think it was a NASCAR game or a NASCAR race, and that's when I was like they noticed that I was like sniffly and stuff. But yeah, I mean, overexposure like to that, especially like once I moved out here, you know, like I'm way better, you know, like when like just like cutting the grass where we lived, like I remember even cutting the grass, like I could even be a little bit kind of triggered with my allergies from that. And again, that's pollen, it's kicking up pollen. But like now I can cut the grass at my own house and I'm fine.
You know, we work outdoors a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're exposed to this stuff constantly.
That's true too. Yeah, even in automotive, like I mean, I've maybe been pleasured to work in like one shop that was air conditioned.
Same.
That was it.
One.
So like we're relying on that wind, you know, and that pollen is coming in. You know, that like the air,
the cars are covered
dirt,
in it.
Yeah, whatever. Exactly. The cars are covered in it. Yeah. Another good point. So
but yeah, I guess I mean when we were like really young, your sister was outside with us a lot too, so
not that much. I don't remember her being outside. I'm not gonna lie to you.
So maybe that's why you.
I think that's why. I think
you grew out of your allergies a lot more.
Yeah, dude, our asses were glued to our bikes.
Oh yeah, bikes, scooters.
That was it.
Just running around.
Yeah, being like going as far away from our house as we could. Is what we were doing. Because we were allowed. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, as we got older, being able to like, go further and further away.
Outside while it was dark.
Yeah, exactly.
We put glow sticks on our bikes and scooters
just to stay outside.
We made neons on them. Yeah. It was great.
But again, all just in like the love like for being outside.
Yeah,
and
great
just,
childhood.
Yeah.
Wouldn't want to change much about that.
Exactly. So, but yeah, I think that has a lot to do with like the allergies and stuff, and how the gluten also can like have an influence. But I mean, yeah, it's a whole nutritional podcast, and we'll leave it we'll leave it at that. But I guess final words: don't buy Soylent, don't buy Huel.
Well,
Huel's not going to sponsor the podcast.
No, I would stick with these to like maybe supplement or replace like breakfast or something, because a lot of people kind of don't have time for breakfast, and
they shouldn't
have
shouldn't be eating breakfast. I think you should be eating breakfast after fasted. Breakfast is a fasted break.
You're fasting while you sleep.
Exactly. That's why it's called breakfast. You should be eating breakfast.
Breaking the fast.
Yeah, you should be. So everyone's going to eat breakfast, because unless you've just not eaten ever in your life, like when the first time you eat is breaking your fast. It's breakfast. So in the morning, I guess everybody's different, but like I don't eat breakfast.
Well, neither do I.
Yeah, and that's probably done your microbiology that makes up your gut biome is probably done very well because of that.
I've heard conflicting like schools of thought on this.
Yeah, they're just hungry ass people.
You shouldn't, but there's also people that say that
they're hungry as fuck and they want to eat, and they should probably just chill and not eat.
You feel real strongly about breakfast.
I know breakfast is the most important meal of the day. You shouldn't skip breakfast, and you shouldn't skip meals, but you should have a large window in your about 16 hours of not eating food. I think you got to leave your body at rest.
So how do you feel
Without
about the
food.
theory of
Eating 16 meals a day?
yeah,
That's fine.
just stimulate your
you better
metabolism.
work it out in the other 12 hours you got in the day.
Now 16 small meals, like you break your meals up for smaller ones.
I don't like that.
Oh. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a nutritionalist. I don't study the metabolism.
I'm not
I just know that
either.
mine works in overdrive.
Yeah, I'm not either. But I just know that I feel better and like I like process food at like a certain time in the morning, and then I feel like not eating food during that time where I'm like processing food, to be nice and polite on the podcast. I think that's good. I think I can tell that's my body figures out. Okay,
Yeah,
we're gonna bust up some stuff down here. You hold off on sending anything else down.
Don't overwhelm us down here. We got plenty of work. But
so generally lunchtime is like when I eat, and like that's my breakfast. That is my break, my fast.
yeah, I mean,
You can eat breakfast food.
I've never been big on breakfast just because like I have this thing where when I wake up from sleeping, I'm just not hungry. Like rarely. I'm occasionally
hungry usually.
on the weekends when I sleep later. I'll be hungry when I wake up, but that's just because at this point I haven't eaten in like a very long time. But like typically, if I'm hungry and I take a nap when I wake up, I'm not hungry for another like hour. It's just sleep does something to my appetite. I don't know what it is. So when I wake up in the morning, I'm not hungry for breakfast. I've never been like my dad, my
I have
mom.
a feeling that it's the fact that like your body's probably broken stuff down while you were asleep.
It might be. I don't like
Because
I don't know
like
the
I mean,
science of
I'm as skinny as you are. You still have food inside like your stomach, and like there's things to break down. And there's
I've had
things
dinner.
to process.
I haven't, processed at dinner yet.
Yeah, exactly. So like your body has been busy processing food, and like from all of that, like it did burn some energy, but like you also use that energy, So like you thought you were hungry. Like that's the thing. Is like what I've found in most cases is that like you think that you're hungry. You think you're hungry.
My hunger,
you want to eat.
My hunger
you
has like come
eat.
and gone in waves.
Yeah,
like I've experienced that.
Yeah,
like
and
it's oh my god, I'm
mental.
starving, and then like I have to do something. I can't eat for like an hour.
Yeah,
and then
but that's
by
because
the time lunch rolls around, I'm like, man, I'm not as hungry as I was.
I think it's a culmination of a lot of factors of like the fact that you can eat all the time. Like there's food everywhere around you. Like there's hardly ever a time where you don't have food, especially considering our DoorDash expert over here. Like we're like you're never gonna be without food. You're gonna like be in that scenario where like food is always around you, and so like you just like we all have grown into this like accustomation of just like food's everywhere. Like, you just eat whenever you're feeling hungry. You just eat. You eat. Just wow, you're hungry. Yeah, you might as well eat.
Grab a snack.
Body's telling you something. Snack it up. And then people are like, oh yeah, well if you just eat small meals all the time, you're just gonna keep burning that little bit. And it's like, yeah, if you're a high-level athlete and you are burning calories all the time, and the issue, what I was going to say about fasting, is the only issue that I found is that, like, if you close the window on what you're eating, you have to still eat that same amount of food. I want to make that clear. You have to still eat the same amount of food. You're just closing the window when you're eating. So I'm not saying less meals. What I'm saying is that you have to have a 16 or at least a 12-hour window of not eating food. So like if you go to bed at 8 and you wake up at 8, wait till noon to eat food. There's your
8 to 8 is
16 hours, right?
Well, 16 if you're the full 16.
That's your 16 hours. So that's generally what I do. But the hard part of that, to make sure that you get that fasting window, is that you now have to like eat for all of that time. You still you don't want to deprive yourself of nutrients and proteins and things. So you still have to eat, but you just don't want to be eating all day long. So now if you're, DJ Metcalf and you're just a jacked, football player, then you probably need to be eating
those calories in because you're burning them.
Because you're burning them faster, and you probably don't have enough time to be oh, well, I'll just eat later. It's you don't have later. You have to eat right now.
You're gonna be burning calories later.
Yeah, you're gonna be burning calories later, and in that middle of that time, and that's the thing too, is that if you are that kind of person, it's hard to go from high speed doing whatever to all right, stop, I'm gonna eat. It's I don't want to eat. I'm just been running. I want to eat.
Yeah, and eating typically makes me want to take a nap.
Exactly, so. And you're I got shit to do. I can't eat a bunch of food. How can I I'm busy. It's so you can't pack it all into one meal. So you have to eat a lot, but it's fun that way. It is fun. So, but on that nutritionist, professional doctor advice that I have just given everyone, and please don't listen to me, but continue listening to the podcast. Because I think we're going to end it. That's 2 hours. This is the longest one ever. And well deserved, because we haven't done this in it feels like forever.
We're making up for lost time here since I was down for the count for like 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's been too much fun.
Yeah, nothing crazy, just coughing.
Yeah.
You didn't want to hear that.
Yeah. Adrian's fine. He's okay. But, dude, it has been fun. I'm so glad we got to finally do it again. But 2 hours in, dog. Let's wrap it up.
Yep.
Cool.
Till next time.
Till next time.